Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Dustin Fox, Jason Lloyd, Tyvis Powell, plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hey, here we are!
Cleveland! Another week, another disaster. This was one of the biggest sports weekends I can remember.
Lot.
I mean, we had 6 major things going on for Cleveland fans. 2 fights involving Cleveland folks, 2 Cavs games, a Buckeyes game, and a Browns game.
Yeah.
It was like, you checkerboard your weekend with how you're going to, and it's like, well, I got to watch that, I got to watch that, I got to watch this. Weekend shot. Although some of them won. But Cavs keep rolling.
Yes, they do.
How's everybody?
Good.
Lying.
Good, man.
I'm a human lie detector.
At this point, how upset can you be? I mean,
No, at this point, you just shake your head and say, it is what it is.
Hey, listen, tomorrow I'm going to the, tomorrow I am going to the boys club.
Good.
Mike Polk is out of town, so I'm going to be doing something with Channel 3 for the boys club. Doc out around too.
Yeah, they asked me about that. I'm unable to go, but I think that's going to become a monthly thing, they told me.
Really?
Good.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
knockout deal. Yeah.
Yeah,
A monthly
sweet.
thing,
So we'll be there tomorrow.
which is pretty fun. I like that. I didn't get to see the first one, but the folks that edited it said it turned out pretty well.
It did.
Yeah, we had fun.
I lost quickly. I don't know how I lost that quick. This guy put me out.
You won? Did you win it?
No.
No, he put me out.
Who won?
Like a kid.
Yeah,
A kid.
I
A
forget.
kid has to win.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
they?
Mike totally could have won. He was trying to miss shots and still making them. That's how good Mike is. The best.
Yeah,
Wow.
man. Listen, he was out here
Same for the back of the rim.
He was pulling up on cats, man.
Let him win.
I got
If I had the capability, I would have won it. I'd have killed
He was
every kid
definitely
there.
going for it.
I'd have knocked them all
It
out.
was
You're
definitely
not
going.
into the sympathy
He was
victims.
definitely soulless.
Hey, you got to win. You got to earn it. I don't give things away.
So much to get into with the Browns. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to give some quick Browns thoughts. Actually, we'll want to start
Quick
with Cavs
Cavs thoughts.
thoughts.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
real
gonna- quick
Cavs
Cavs
thoughts,
thoughts.
then a little bit of Browns, and then a lot of Cavs.
Real quick before anything, 2 quick food things. Number 1, Mike made a good recommendation on a restaurant Saturday night. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the place now, Mike. What was it called again?
Good company.
Good
Over
Company.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of it.
Mike is a
I've heard of good
restaurateur.
company.
You know about restaurants
It's in
now?
a weird location. I don't even know. It's like by Edgewood Water Park, but like
I've heard
kinda
other
hidden.
people say it's really good.
Excellent food
Yeah.
there. Excellent. I took 3, Aaron and 2 of his buddies and my wife, and we had a great time. But I have to condemn a guy I love,
Okay.
and that's Director Steve.
What do you do?
What happened?
He flew into New York for the weekend,
What?
which is fine. Great. Have a nice weekend in New York.
Wow.
He did not ask me for a recommendation for food. And number 2,
Bad on you.
this is even worse. He did not eat pizza. Who goes to New York and doesn't eat pizza?
Not a single meal? Like, why not lunch Saturday or
exactly.
lunch yesterday?
That's unacceptable.
It is unacceptable. I can understand why people might not want to eat that for dinner.
Okay.
There's so many nice restaurants, but
All
you
right.
got to have a pizzeria experience.
You gotta get pizza.
This is like remember
Wow.
Tommy from Martin, and they used to be like, Tommy, you ain't got no job. I'm gonna have to send these cameras of Director Steve. You've
Yes.
been doing some old covert operations stuff. Who flies solo into New York and just moves around?
Because you know, unlike most of the rest of us, Steve has probably been smart with his money his whole life,
I know he has.
right? And he saved, and now he can do whatever the hell he wants.
To the
in his
victor
free
goes
time,
the
which is
spoils.
awesome.
That's right.
Let me find out that you out here selling drugs on the streets. All these vacations. Now, if I was doing this, the feds would have already been on me.
Wiretaps.
UCSS money? Are you serious? This guy's going on vacation. We gotta find something. Let me find out, Steve.
Well, you did buy a house on UCSS money.
Yeah, I did, man. But this dude.
Are we sure it was UCSS money?
Hey, listen.
And a
this-
car. He got a new car, too.
That is all wife money, regular job money, retired money, health benefits money.
Before we jump into the
You got to
Cavs
figure it out, bro. I love
Yeah.
it.
and the Browns,
love it.
Bull, you texted us over the weekend saying you were very mad at an old lady or a grandma or something. So
Oh, yeah, I had
I
to-
want to hear that. Then we'll dive into
Okay,
Cavs,
so-
quick Browns, and then a lot of Cavs.
Yeah, I screamed at an old lady this weekend, and I
Come
was
on, boy.
totally in the right.
Was it a Panera? Was she in the waiting to die line?
No, it was not a Panera.
find her.
Although I did go to Panera over the weekend and went through the drive-thru.
Now, Bull, I'm anxious to hear this
Yeah.
because I don't know that there is any scenario in which you can yell at an elderly female.
Okay.
I can't imagine
Now,
one in
I don't
my
know
mind.
I don't know how old she was. She could have been 55 or 60.
What's your
I don't know.
definition of elderly? It's different for everyone.
70.
Yeah, for me it's like 75. I think the older we get, by the way, the
Yeah.
bigger that number is.
That's how it goes.
Oh,
That's
90s elderly.
When I was 20, 45 was elderly.
Right, exactly.
You are kidding.
So I'm leaving Heinen's. I went shopping yesterday. I'm leaving Heinen's and the one in Rocky River, and I'm pulling out on a one, in their parking lot, like most parking lots for Heinen's, I assume. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Most of the lanes in the Heinen's parking lot are one way,
Right?
and I'm going to the exit, and this woman comes flying in.
Oh, wow.
Almost smashed into me head first, going in the wrong direction.
Wow.
And so I honked. I opened my window. I said, "What are you, a bleeping idiot?"
Did you say bleeping?
No, I did not say bleeping. Now, to be fair, I didn't really know it was an older woman. But, tough. You almost got me killed. Driving like a madman.
I don't think you'd have been killed in the parking lot.
There's two ways that can go.
Yeah.
Because we've all had this happen.
Yeah.
You merge into a lane and you didn't see someone there.
Right,
Okay.
sure.
And they're going like this.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. This is the international symbol for, oh, gee, I screwed up.
Yeah.
It's on me.
Sometimes I do.
Then there's another hand gesture
Yeah.
that they can do.
That's
that
right.
Quickly escalates it to gunplay.
I don't even know if she heard me, honestly, because
Oh,
she seemed
okay.
like, once I got a better look at her as she pulled around,
Yeah.
I was like, this one, I don't know if she could see over the steering wheel. I don't know what was happening. So I don't even know if she took in my screaming at her, but there you go.
Maybe she's a watcher of UCSS and she's saying, so that's who it was.
That's right. Could be. Could be. You never
All right.
know.
Well, you didn't know it was an old lady, so that
I did,
changes
but I didn't
the way.
care. I didn't care. I would have screamed anyway. I'm being
No,
she,
you're
she
real.
almost got to an accident. It was 100% her fault.
If nothing, you're real.
That's it.
So, all right.
Sorry.
Well, we're sorry for
Yeah.
spreading poor. This is kind of the holiday season. We're close.
That's true.
We should be spreading goodwill and cheer. And
That's true. All of a sudden this weekend I saw a lot of Christmas decorations. It all
you know, it
started
seems
this
like
weekend.
earlier than ever.
Yeah.
It was like as soon as Halloween was over, I started
Right.
seeing Christmas ads
Yeah.
on TV. We're playing them on Channel 3 left
That's
and right.
right.
We're doing our thing in September.
Yeah.
It's crazy, guys. All right, let's talk Cavs for a sec, and then we'll get to Browns, and we're going to go back to the Cavs. But I was at the game last night. 15-0 is no small feat. That now ties the second best start in the history of the NBA. It ties the 93-94 Rockets and the 48-49 Washington Capitals, which is such an old, irrelevant team that no one knows how to spell it. Some outlets spell it Capitals with an ALS. Some
the
outlets are
hockey
spelling
team.
it with an OLS.
Oh,
There's
wow.
no consensus whatsoever on how to properly spell it. That's how irrelevant it is.
Had anybody ever heard of that team before?
Honestly-
The hockey team.
No, but the basketball team,
No.
Capitals. I never
No,
knew
I
that.
honestly did
No.
not know they
No.
existed.
Yeah.
The Warriors have obviously the longest winning streak to ever start a season at 24 games back in 15-16. But the Cavs did it last night without Donovan Mitchell. Ty Jerome steps into the starting lineup, goes 24-8, which is essentially Donovan Mitchell-esque numbers. They scored 128, but 130 points again. In the fourth quarter, they pulled out a zone defense that they had rarely used
I
thus
hadn't
far.
seen it.
They used it a little bit on Friday against Chicago, and I got
Yeah, I
some
didn't-
cool tidbits on the zone we'll talk about
Jeez.
later in the show when we get to a little more Cavs in-depth discussion. But, guys, they have a counter to anything you want to do and try to stop them defensively. And that's what's made them so dangerous as an overall unit thus far. It's an incredible start to the season. 15-0 is nothing to scoff at. And we'll go around the horn real quick. Jay, we'll start with you because we're going to end with you on shotgun reactions for the Browns. But
Right.
15-0 is freaking incredible.
Yeah, I think the question was what's the most impressive part of it?
And we're going to dive into that.
Or is that going to be the first topic?
That's the first real
Okay,
topic,
so,
yeah.
so just my treetops of really not just last night, but the last couple, this is a team that clearly has its foot on the gas when it wants to and knows how to feather it on and off. When you're watching, you see them go up by 11 and 12 early, and then for a lot of the game, it's a 3-point game, and you're kind of frustrated because you're like, why can't this team put them away? But guys, I think they found a really interesting gear that I think the Bulls had during Jordan's run, and also I thought the Warriors had it during their dynasty. And they're almost toying with their opponents for 3.5 quarters. It's like they're saying, that's cute that you're making a lot of threes. And it's cute that you guys are really hard playing and you're hustling. But each time nitty gets to gritty, they stand up and squash them like a bug and win by double digits. I've seen it the last few games.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's the most impressive thing, and I'll dive more into that later. But just my treetops of same thing was last night. I'm watching them. I'm frustrated they're not able to put them away. And I keep wondering, is this the night? I've wondered that probably the last 4 games. Is this the night? It looks like this is the night. Oh, it's going to happen tonight. Then they just go nuts down the stretch, and it doesn't matter who it is. It's been really one of 6 different guys. And I don't know that there's another team in the NBA that's equipped to have 6 different guys at any given point in time just say, I'm going to literally take over the game right now.
I'll tell you what, when I look at it, when I used to watch the Golden State Warriors back in the day, the thing that used to be so impressive about the Golden State Warriors was the fact that when they used to move the basketball, it didn't matter who they put on the floor. It just was like, hey, Leandro Barbosa is hot today. Andre Iguodala, Livingston. They would have these random no-name gangsters, and it just did not matter. Like, they would get these dudes coming off the bench, and they would all play the same way. It was almost impossible to guard them. They would shoot from half court, and it was that type of atmosphere and that type of feeling that scared everybody to death. And I look back and I say, maybe it wasn't just about the basketball itself and how you move the basketball, because we say that a lot. Maybe it's just the fact that when you get a group of people that actually start to believe and actually start to be in that zone, and if anybody has played basketball, there's a place where you can get where it almost seems like your body is moving by itself. It just seems like you just got the ultra instinct that Goku, man. If you know, you know. All of a sudden, guys like Ty Jerome come in and give you 24. And you look at the confidence they playing with. Darius Garland playing at the top of the food chain right now. He was playing around. He was just getting to his spots and throwing his floater up. And this time I'm going to throw the lob to Allen. It's like everybody is in the right place at the right time. And they playing like we feel we're better than everybody. And that's one of the best feelings in the world, to be able to go on the court and say, no matter who we got, Jason, no matter who we play, we feel like we better than you, and we not panic. I feel like they're playing like just calm, like, yeah, y'all can't even see this.
Yeah, they know they're going to win. And 2 things I think that jumped out to me. Number 1, go back to the knockdown dragout I was not here for about the winning streak, and will it impact the way that they finish, more or less. The fact that they were 14-0 and sat their best player on a rest day tells you their eyes are on a bigger prize than this streak. That takes some balls.
You aren't kidding.
To go 14-0 and say, you know what, we've had
By
this
the way,
plan
I like
in
that
place.
move.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Like, we have this plan in place. This is what we set out. We knew we were going to rest Donovan on this night. He's going to have 3 days now of rest prior to the Boston game. Doesn't matter that we're 14-0. We believe in the guys that we have. That was huge, number 1. Number 2, the thing that I'm most interested about, and I've talked about this at length, this is a new NBA. And it was always star-driven teams win championships. The league is put in place now. They've put these levers in that doesn't allow that, where you're not going to see these teams loading up with stars. And the Cavs are sort of the test tube case in this. Donovan Mitchell's highest MVP finish is 6th in his career. Donovan Mitchell is a fantastic player. He's not one of those elite top 5 guys that, like, when you talk Steph, LeBron, KD, he's never been in that conversation. Maybe he will be by the end of the season. But to this point in his career, he's never been. But the Cavs have so much depth and talent on their roster. This is the first test case of this new look NBA. Can you win with really, 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 really good players and not those top big 3, top 5 guys of the Giannis, Steph type of ilk that we have just come to expect? You have to have one. It's been the rule in the NBA forever. You have to have one of these guys if you are going to compete for a championship. The Cavs' top guy is really freaking good, but he's not in that, at least not to this point in his career. And yet they're the best team in the NBA right now. They're the hottest team in the NBA right now, and they very well could win an NBA championship. So I'm fascinated by all this, and I keep talking about it because it's so much different than how we've always viewed the NBA. But with the way that this cap is built and the way that this league is structured now, the Cavs have everybody except Karis LeVert under contract for a really long time. Like, this team is going to be a problem for years to come. And I don't think that people around the league recognize that part of it as much. All the extensions that they handed out and where this thing is headed, like, and the side benefit of that is you don't have guys worrying about their numbers for their next contract because everybody's been paid.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about, I got to get mine, I got to get mine, I got to get mine tonight because
Who do you
I
credit
got
for
this.
that, Jay?
Kobe gets the credit for that because he locked all of these guys up. And when you lock them up, and we had the conversation, they got Jared Allen in just under the wire that, well, if you have to trade him, you can still trade him. Well, who's talking about that anymore?
No one.
Nobody. So it accomplished two things. Number one, it got all these guys paid. It got them all under deals. And it allowed them the flexibility if they had to trade someone. Okay, you don't have to trade anyone. Well, look at what we have. Look at the runway that you have now. If you have 3 years minimum with all, again, you set Karras aside. He's the one guy. And by the way, he's having the best season of his career. But everyone else has already been paid. And you also give credit to Jared Allen because he didn't have to take that deal. He left money on the table by taking that deal. But because he had 2 years left. But the way that these guys are all locked up now, this thing is in a really good place.
Really quickly, you when you was covering it in the summer, I'll give Kobe Altman credit for this because he didn't want to get rid of JB. That wasn't a thing where it wasn't an easy decision.
It took a long time.
It was not an easy decision.
It took a long time, and he went through with it.
Yeah.
And it's paying dividends.
I think if you go back to the summer, we knew how this was going to end. I think he knew how it was going to have to end. I don't necessarily know that he was thrilled to have to do it, but we talked at length about JB had lost the locker room, and he had. And maybe now you're seeing why. You know, like, and listen, I defended JB as much as anybody, and I still think he did a lot of really good things when he was here. Like, we've talked about, we don't have to talk about it again. He pulled him up out of the mud. He established a baseline, a foundation, identity of who they are, how they're going to play, and he did a lot of really, really, really good things when he was here. Obviously, this thing has now, and it's only 15 games, and I've talked to guys in the locker room the other night who said, hey, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. We have to finish this. Like,
yeah, the 15-0 is forgotten.
No one's going to be talking
about
that's exactly it. Mm-hmm. And they know that. And they believe that they're playing for something bigger. So Kenny has certainly taken this to a different level. But, you know, if you want to go back to the summer, yeah, it was a hard decision to move on from JB because, I mean, go back to the Boston series. They didn't have their guys, and they were still competitive. Like, they played the Celtics hard.
They won a lot of games.
Yeah. but it was the right decision in the end.
The to your point, I mean, a couple of things. First of all, I would put it as kind of like Donovan Mitchell's a tier 2 star, right? Like, there's tier 1 stars. We know who they are.
That's exactly right.
He's a tier 2 star.
That's exactly
which
right.
is no insult. That means you're an excellent player, but he's a tier 2 star, and we haven't seen a team win with their best player being a tier 2 star in a very long time.
Right.
So that's it. And in terms of Kobe Altman, he certainly deserves a ton of credit. I think we've all been harsh with him at times, been critical of him at times. I think a lot of people thought just keeping the roster, most of us, I certainly did, just keeping the roster the same was not the right answer. But right now, he looks like he was 100% right. That keeping it together and finding the right coach was the answer. What I can say is that the Cavs, most importantly, sometimes, and I certainly get caught up in this, with like I've said the regular season doesn't matter 1,000 times, and it doesn't in terms of making the playoffs. We know the Cavs are in the playoffs. There's no doubt, even going into the season, we knew there was no way they weren't making the playoffs. But what sometimes we forget when we're talking about championships, because in the end, that's the most important thing, is there are fun moments along the way. I look back now, a month later, I think the Guardians had a great season. They had a fun season. I enjoyed watching them play all year. I enjoyed watching them win against the Tigers. Yes, I don't like the way it ended. Nobody likes the way it ends unless you win a championship. Sure. But it was a fun season. There's a big difference between what we saw from the Guardians and what we're seeing from the Browns. It's not a fun season watching the Browns. So however this Cavs season turns out, this start to the season has been fun. And fans enjoy that. And I'm enjoying it. I'm sure you guys are all enjoying it. And so there's something to be said for that, even though it may not matter in terms of the standings or in terms of what ultimately happens. We watch sports to be entertained. We watch sports because we want to have fun and enjoy our teams. Most years, I wouldn't even have watched that Friday game that the Cavs played.
Correct.
Because we're not going to talk about specifics about that game on Monday, but I was locked in to every single play.
I wouldn't have gone to it any other year. I wouldn't have been in the arena on a
And
Friday
if they're
night.
9-6, probably none of us watch.
Exactly.
It's a Friday night, and life happens.
Exactly. But right now,
I
you
want
want
to
to
add
be
one
part
thing
of
to what
it.
you said, Jay, because I think Kobe does deserve the credit. But I think the one thing that we really haven't touched on is you can have a blueprint for get this kind of player and this role player and this player and then lock them up long term. But what they kind of either fell into or it's because the hard work they did before they acquired these players, the teeth of the gears all fit.
Yeah.
And they fit perfectly. There's no one really. I thought last year that Darius didn't fit. He was moping. I didn't like his body language. It looked like he was trying to get himself sent out of town. And I don't think that anymore. And I know winning cures all warts,
Sure.
but to me, I think this group was willing to, in Jared Allen's case, to sign for a little extra length, but leave some money on the table. Because I think they look around and they realize, guys, this is special. We can do something here, and not just win a championship. It's every team's goal to win one, but it's not outside the realm of possibility to see this team contending for multiple championships. Sure. And I think they're all, for the most part, selfless. They're putting team over self. Look at Donovan Mitchell. If Donovan wanted to be a tier 1 star, he could probably do that. But it's more important to him right now that they win.
I think
he's becoming a tier 1 star in my mind.
We know the regular season MVP is a regular season award. If the Cleveland Cavaliers, he just signed there, if the Cleveland Cavaliers have the best record in the league and he's the best player on the team, Donovan Mitchell's going to win MVP.
He might. That's what I'm saying.
Certainly going to contend.
This might be the year where he elevates.
But
to this point in his
it
career,
doesn't
he
feel like that's his number one priority. Sure, he'd like to win an
You're
MVP.
right. I don't think it is,
But
Paul.
just the fact that we talked about this on Thursday or Friday, whatever it was, the fact that he apologized for trying to get that triple-double, none of us needed him to apologize.
No.
But it just showed, an unselfishness to his game. He was like, yeah, I was selfish for a minute. And we were all like, it's fine, Donovan. We get it. We get it.
Yeah.
No Mobley
Yeah.
on Friday.
Yeah.
Come back, no Donovan Mitchell, no problem.
Well, and you had Noah Coro and no Wade.
Now, in fairness, though, they're not playing elite teams when they're doing that. And
But-
that's smart, though.
yeah,
That's
but
smart.
They're not. But I don't care who you're playing. You hang 144
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
team
My goodness.
without Evan.
You're right.
And then you come back and hang
130.
128. Yeah, 128 without Donovan.
Yeah.
These are still NBA teams.
That's
Is it
crazy.
the Celtics? No. But they're still NBA players.
I can't wait till tomorrow night.
Oh, my God.
I
I'm so
can't
glad
wait.
it's on
I don't know that
national
I've
TV.
looked forward to a regular season game in November. I have it. This is
Never.
Yeah.
the most anticipated regular season November game that I'll ever watch in my life.
Yeah. Are Wade and Okoro going to be able to play? Do we know, Mike?
I think he's confident.
Don't know.
Atkinson, I read this morning, is confident that they will.
So in the locker room after the game last night, they both had walking boots on, but that's always precautionary.
Right.
Wade essentially said, "I'm fine." I don't want to but essentially he made it seem like he's fine. Okoro didn't do anything. No one got a chance to really see Okoro. So I feel more confident in Wade playing than I would in Okoro. But if they both play, I wouldn't be shocked. And if neither played, I'd be a little surprised. So
They are playing. It's like everybody that steps on the court for the Cavs. I think you said something like this before, G. Whoever steps on the court seems like, I don't know for sure, but it feels like every player they put on the floor is confident. They believe in themselves.
Of course, they're 15-0.
and they can't miss. It's,
Right,
when
it's
you're
just
winning and you don't
crazy.
miss, it's incredible.
Before you go quickly, our director, not director Steve, our coordinating producer Steve, just sent the text. This is fascinating. If the Cavs go 33-34 the rest of the way, which is obviously a game under 500, they'll finish 48-34, same record they had last year.
And later in the show, we're going to talk about
This is a
potentially
nice
catching
runway.
the wins record, and that's why now
Yes.
I think it is worth entertaining
Yeah.
said conversation because they're incredible. And last stat, I just want to mention this last thing, then we'll talk Browns real quick, and we'll get back to the Cavs. In the clutch this season, which NBA.com defines as last 5 minutes of a game, games within 5 points. So as soon as it becomes a 6-point game, that possession does not count for your clutch stats. The Cavs have an offensive rating of 149.1, a defensive rating of 78.3, and a net rating of 70.8, which would shatter any NBA record for net rating in the clutch by about 61 points.
Oh my God.
That's like
So
NBA
they're
2K
playing-
stuff.
they're
Like, that's
playing
not
their
real.
61 points?
They're playing their best basketball in the biggest moments
Yeah.
of the games
Well,
that matter.
That goes to my point that
Yeah.
the last couple of nights it's really jumped out to me how, and I'm sure if it's close and late Boston, I'll be like, here we go. But each of the last four, with like 4 or 5 minutes to go, I'm like, I think this is the night.
Yeah.
And then they just find that gas
Yeah,
pedal, and
right.
it is over. And it happens in such rapid. It's like boom, 3, boom,
It's a
3,
Cavaliers,
turnover,
baby.
3, dunk, done.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
All right, guys, we are going to talk Browns real quick, and then we're going to hop back to the Cavs. And if you want to tackle NFL action, you can use FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, to do so right now. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, do live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Bull, start us off. Your shotgun reaction to the Browns getting embarrassed by the Saints in New Orleans, falling to 2-8 on the season.
So, man, there's so much to say about this. The organization is it's disaster from top to bottom right now. I mean, think about it this year. The Saints are a terrible team. You've played now 5 games against other terrible teams, and you're 1-4 against the other teams like you that stink. 1-4. Their only win against their other bad teams they've played is Jacksonville. The rest of their schedule, you're playing teams that are all pretty good. Cincinnati's their offense stinks, and they're not playing. They're not very good. Miami's but they've been better with Tua. Besides that, you got Pittsburgh twice. You got Baltimore again.
What's the easiest game they have left?
I guess the Dolphins
Bengals.
at home.
They always beat the Bengals.
They didn't earlier in the year.
Just messing with you.
No, at this point, I don't really care.
You know what? It probably is Miami
yeah.
or Cincinnati.
It's Miami at home and Cincinnati on the road. I mean, and they're going to be underdogs in both those games. Maybe they're a slight favorite against Miami at home, but I doubt it.
Doubt it too.
This organization stinks. You've talked about it for the bad soil. Jimmy Haslam is a disaster. He is an absolutely hideous owner in every way. The front office stinks. The fact that they can't even tell you what Paul DePodesta's job is, they're cagey about what his job is. That's insane to me. Andrew Berry, it's been a disaster. Almost everything he's done has been bad. Everything points back to Watson. We got all the. There's a group of people out there driving me crazy. They're like, I told you it wasn't just Watson. First of all, nobody ever says it's just one thing. But ultimately, the Watson trade is the biggest culprit in all this disaster because first of all, you acquired the worst quarterback in the league. And you had to give up 5 draft picks, I think it was, including 3 first-rounders. So where would this team be? We'll never know, even though it's irrelevant, but it has ultimately crushed the team. Jameis Winston, I thought, played pretty well, as I expected him to. They didn't score enough. Part of that is because the kicker, who had 1 good year, and then you decided to pay him, he'd been a mediocre kicker his whole career. He had 1 good year. The Browns, we got to extend the kicker. And now he stinks again. He missed, chip shot field goal after chip shot field goal. This defense is supposed to be so good. 35 point. They made Taysom Hill look like Michael Vick. Are you kidding me? Taysom Hill. The Browns defense played this game as if they'd never seen a gadget play ever in their life. Like that they didn't. It was almost like they weren't aware that you were allowed to do these things that New Orleans did. Ultimately, Kevin Stefanski and everybody else on this team is going to be fired. I think Kevin Stefanski is an okay coach. I have defended him to no end. But I got to say, and I saw Ben Axelrod, and I don't mean to kill him for this, and I've seen a lot of other people. I've heard Jason say this. I've probably said it myself. I think I have. If Stefanski gets fired, he's going to get picked up right away. Yeah, I don't buy that. The Coach of the Year award is a fraud. Everybody in the league knows that it's a fraud. It doesn't mean you're the best coach. You just had a surprise good season. Andy Reid's the Coach of the Year every year. Kevin Stefanski wasn't the best coach in the NFL last year. He did a good job with a team that was hurt. Kudos to you. It was a big story, and that's how you win these awards based on storylines. Kevin Stefanski's a perfectly okay coach, but it hasn't worked. It's 5 years. He's won 1 playoff game. He's had 2 winning seasons.
Did he win a playoff game?
Well, he wasn't there, but the team won a
Okay.
playoff game. This idea that they're going to be banging down the door to get Kevin Stefanski as the next head coach, I don't buy it. If I'm wrong, so be it. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. And again, I think he's the least of the problems of everybody that's not a player. But I think you got to start over again. And yes, I don't have a lot of faith that Jimmy's going to get it right this time. And when you have a bad owner, as they do, it's harder to overcome because that's it. You know, when you have a bad owner, you can't get rid of that guy. But it's bad. It can turn around in a hurry. You know, football's very year to year. So I'm not saying it's going to be awful for the next decade. Who knows? But right now, it feels like this team has zero hope. And all those years, the years of 0-16 and 1-15, it was to be able to get all this tanking for draft picks. And what have they done with it? What has Andrew Berry done with it? He has wasted almost every pick he's made. I don't know if I think we overrated the talent some. I think some of it hasn't been developed enough. But the bottom line is the Browns are just a terrible football team. That's it. It's plain and simple, and there's going to be a lot of people there paying the price.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say. I don't care about the Browns. They're a waste of breath right now.
They are.
So I don't. I had to text with our subscribers through the game, and I had a hard time even just coming up with anything. Like, there's just nothing to say about this team right now. The one thing I would say, I've seen a lot. I saw a lot on social media yesterday. I've heard it this morning about they quit yesterday. They quit. I don't think they quit. I think it was worse than that. It was 14-14 going the fourth quarter. That's
I think
not a
they
team
quit in
to
the fourth quarter. I didn't think they'd quit before that.
The issue to me isn't the fact that they quit. The issue is that they thought as an organization they were past all of this crap, and they're not.
Yeah.
And that's more disheartening than a team that quit, because if you quit, you can get rid of the guys that quit and you move on. It's not that big of a deal. This is deeper than that. And that's what's so disheartening is they thought they were past this level of dysfunction, toxicity, whatever word you want to use. They thought that they had the right people in place, and they thought that as an organization, ownership learned their lessons from this. They've moved past all of that, and they haven't. We're right back where they've always been. They're 2-8. You're right. It does feel hopeless because of the quarterback situation, because of the cap sheet moving forward. There's just not a lot of reason for hope. So I just don't have a lot to say about them. I just don't care.
One of the worst things, when I said it at the time, one of the worst things that could have happened to the Cleveland Browns was Deshaun Watson getting hurt in the middle of the season, very early in the season. You say, what are you talking about, G. Bush? Why was that? We were excited about that. We got to see other. Well, no, because now when Deshaun Watson is taken off the board, there is a hardcore evaluation of every other aspect of your organization. So when Deshaun Watson got moved away, now people, after a while, after 1 or 2 weeks, they'll say, well, all right, cool, we'll watch the games. And now all of a sudden you got 9, 6, 7, 8, 9 games left to go. And now you can't run from those games. You can't. You have to look and call a thing what it is. Not only is your quarterback not good, maybe your coaching staff wasn't good. Maybe your talent wasn't good. Maybe the front office wasn't no good. Maybe the whole entire strategy was cooked, right? So now we got 7, 8 more weeks to watch this. To be honest, Deshaun Watson don't make people not cover a Wildcat play. Think about that. The Wildcat has been dead for 20 years. You can't run a Wildcat in high school. A professional team called the Cleveland Browns came out and let a gadget all-star and Taysom Hill run up and down the field. The Cleveland Browns missed 3 or 4, 5, 6 field goals, right? You're drafting kickers in the 4th round, and then you cut them because you find out they ain't no good, and then you go back and get them again, sign them to another deal. What kind of crap is that? You guys are jokes, man. You guys, and I'm gonna just say this. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. You guys think that you have a pulse on what's going on. I sent Mikey a nice little poll. I set this up and I said, listen, you guys think that you guys can do whatever you want to and it doesn't matter. I said, well, let me throw this question out on my show. I said, if the Cleveland Browns, somehow they gave the Cleveland Browns another expansion team and they gave them their retractable dome downtown and kept it wherever they want to. And then they told them, you know what? I'm going to give you 3 first-round picks each and every year, the first 3 years of your organization. Then I'm going to bring Tony Dungy in or Belichick to be my consultants, not Paul DePodesta. I'm going to get Dungy, not DePodesta. And then I'm going to hire Mike Vrabel. I asked the question, point blank period. In that scenario, would you root for the new team or the old Browns as constituted? Do you know what? It garnered almost 1,500 votes. And all I got is diehard Browns fans. That's what I do. That's what I talk about. Do you know 65%? 65% of the polls said that they would legitimately strongly consider watching this new team rather than the old one. My thesis statement is you guys think that you got everything, the bull by the horns. You lost a whole generation of people during COVID. You lost a whole lot of generations of people. We lost, how many of our great Browns people have we lost? I go to BSK. We can go to Les Levine. We lost Jim Donovan. How many people have sat here and waited and waited their lives for you to do something only to revert back to what Jason said, this crap right here? Don't get it twisted. We like football. Football was born here. We don't like what you're doing, though. And the people be speaking. And I'll say this, and I'll throw it to Jay. And with politics around, and I did a scheme. And I said, listen, man, don't get mad at me. People told you that they're more worried about are you better off today than you were 5 years ago? Do you feel more safe? Do you have more money in the bank? Is gas cheaper? Is the price of tuition going down? If the answer is no, people make moves. Well, guess what? Are the Cleveland Browns better than they were 5 years ago? No, they're worse. So in that vein, chances are they're going to make moves.
What's really incredible, I like your hypothetical, but here's what Jimmy Haslam is saying as he hears it. He's laughing.
Right.
That's never going to happen, G.
Can't happen. I got the game rigged.
There's no way the NFL is going to put a second team here because there's something in our soil. So he is operating under the following premise. We're suckers. We're stupid. I can kick them right between the legs. They're going to come back next Sunday and say, thank you, sir, may I have another. That's what we've done. I've done it for 50 years. Thank you, sir, may I have another. Bull sent out a text. I think I saw it on our text chain. And I was like, Jesus, that can't be right. The Cavaliers have won more games in a month than the Browns have won playoff games ever.
Not ever, 75 years.
Okay, 75 years.
Yeah.
Ever.
They've won 17 ever. But in the last 75 years, they've won 14.
And by the end of this week, the Cavs will have won more games in the first month of the NBA season than the Browns have won playoff games ever.
Yeah.
How many playoff wins do the Steelers have?
They have 36.
See, Christmas.
It's nuts, man. Yeah. It's nuts. And so Jimmy is a smart businessman. I keep hearing this defense of Jimmy. Hey, he spends money. Well, what if you spent $5 million for a shed that had no roof? What then do you say about the person that spends money? You say, wow, he's burning cash. This is the same man that was paying 5 head coaches at one time because his decision-making is so poor that he kept firing them, hiring new ones, firing them, and he had 5 on payroll at one time. He spends money. I'll give him that. I wish the Guardians owner had his wallet. We'd have a dynasty. But that's not going to happen. And so he's so banking on us showing up next Sunday saying, thank you, sir, may I have another, that he's going to spend $200 million of his own money, $300 million of his own money to build Browns World.
Oh, more than that.
Out in Brook Park. I mean, who knows? I think he would like to get by only spending $300 million. May end up spending $500 million. But here's what that is. He's making an investment. What is that investment? His investment is no matter how much we suck, They're going to come. They're going to buy our silly jerseys that will be obsolete in 2 years. They're going to come and pay for our beer, and they're going to pay for parking, and they're going to pay for tailgating licenses. And now I'm going to get all of the money because I own it all. So Jimmy is making a calculated guess. No matter how much they suck, we'll be there. It's not a dumb bet because we've been there. And so he's basically saying, I'm getting rich on our misery. Think about that for a second. This man is by the way, how are the Milwaukee Bucks doing since he became owner?
Sabotage them.
Done.
It's kind of wild.
We were talking dynasty about this team, weren't we? Dynasty. What has happened to that team? I think the last check, I think they're 4-9. Everything he touches turns to shit. That's it. And you know, I've actually had people say to me, "Wow, Jay, you've got a sharp sword for this dude." It's our job. It's our job. If he was doing wonderful things, I would say wonderful things about him. But he's not, and I can't sit back and watch it. And I am glad to see this. I feel like the pendulum is swinging because I've been saying it for 5 years. Once I started hearing it from my colleagues at ESPN, when they were really telling me what is going on, I listened. Now, I can't unplug my fandom. I still sit down at 1 o'clock on Sunday and I say, let's go. But I'm not giving them dollars. Have it a long time, I won't. But I can't divorce myself from the orange and the brown, from the colors. Jimmy Haslam isn't the Browns. He is now. He's the guardian of them now. But I feel like the pendulum is swinging. I talked earlier about week 4 or 5 this year. I said, guys, I've never felt fan apathy where it is now. This is different. This is new to me. I'm feeling fans. I heard a lot of them yesterday say,
No, they checked out. I do
They're
all.
done.
I do all. Listen, people say they going.
But
they talking to their people. No, I really feel like there is a vacuum of Browns.
It's
fans
starting.
That is like, nah, I'm for real this time.
I hear, but they'll be back next year.
We'll be sucked back
Yeah.
in.
They'll be back.
When we take whoever with the number 2 pick in the NFL draft,
Yeah.
we're going to be sucked right back in. I'll end it by saying this. How many times have we said, is it Baker or is it OBJ? Is it Joe Flacco or is it whoever? Fill in the blanks. How many times have we asked that question? When are we going to start asking the real question? Why won't this man sell the team? Until fans start a legitimate campaign for him to break us from our misery and chains and sell the team to someone who knows what they're doing. It's clear, guys, we've got enough. There's enough hay in the barn to know it's poison, okay? And there's been enough GMs, and there's been enough head coaches, and there's been enough quarterbacks, and there's been enough players. We're watching another blooming flower die in toxic soil. Myles Garrett, was he at the game yesterday? Did he make the trip?
Somebody had his
Report
jersey
stat.
on. Somebody had his jersey on.
I saw 95 on the field. I didn't see Myles Garrett. It's another blooming flower dying in toxic soil. So until fans collectively, not pockets, until they collectively stand up and protest and realize what's going on, he's going to wash, rinse, repeat this offseason.
Of course.
Everybody's gone.
Yeah.
But the person that needs to be gone, he's still going to be there.
McNuggets.
And he's going to be cashing our checks.
That's right.
So it's up to you. It's up to the fan base.
It's got to be the worst team in sports per dollar in the history of sports.
Oh
right?
my God!
Per dollar.
Hold
They
on,
spent more than anyone since 2020.
Do you guys hear that? That's Jimmy Haslam laughing.
I know it is.
Yeah.
But
No,
but
we're
listen,
not selling anything, man.
He won't sell. No. But if he's forced to sell, because you always say, well, you can't make the owner sell. Here's how you force the owner to sell. We collectively, as a fan base, say we are not going to do this exercise anymore. I'm not going to stand in front of you and let you nail me in my groin for another Sunday, another year, another season. We're wasting the careers. We're going to have the unique distinction of having 3 players in the Pro Football Hall of Fame 30 miles down the road that have busts of themselves in Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett, and Joe Thomas. And what in the hell did these 3 Hall of Famers that all overlapped, what did they win?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Zilch.
And they have the common denominator is at the top, that it's rotten at the head. And I don't know that he'll sell. He probably won't because he's staring at Jimmy World in Brook Park.
Man
And that
was-
will make them generationally wealthy
yeah.
for years. And for
By the way, I heard if you have a personal seat license here, that's not going to carry
it will
over.
not transfer.
No, it won't.
Yeah.
No, it will cost you. And you know what?
Yeah.
His calculation backfires if, and by the way, I told you guys this in October, early October, because I had a very powerful money person here in town that told me he's not going to get this done, guys. He's not going to get this done the way he wants. He can do it, but he's going to have to write a mammoth check. This same person now tells me
Yeah.
that with the recent events of the Browns going from playoff team to the laughing stock of the NFL, which is what we are,
Yeah.
things are so bad that you might pony up for a new seat license if the team is 13-4 and making a deep playoff run. But think about the projection 5 years from now. A lot can change in 5 years, and I understand that. But do you trust these guys to fix it? Paul DePodesta?
No.
Andrew Barry? Kevin Stefanski? So it blows up in his face if he writes that big check and breaks ground in Brook Park and then hits us with the aftershock of the
Yeah.
new prices, and we say, no, we're not buying that.
Mike's got to get a read in real quick just to put a bow on that.
Yeah.
Buffalo is going through this right now. They
They
have
are.
Josh Allen. They have a playoff team. They're selling
Yeah.
PSLs for $8,000 to $50,000 per seat, and people are buying them
In a
Western
similar
New
type
York.
of city to Cleveland.
Smaller.
Because
Yeah.
look,
Smaller economy, smaller population,
Right.
smaller fan base, and they're flying off the shelves.
look at the quarterback. Look at the team.
There's hope.
They have and they're 2 years out. They're 2 years out from opening their
Yeah.
new stadium.
By the way, we could have drafted Josh Allen.
which means that the Browns by 2027 are going to have to if they're going to do this.
Yeah.
2027 they have to start selling these PSLs. Good luck.
Why would anybody?
They're nowhere near ready.
Listen, I think we've all at times had a beef with Dolan and Dan Gilbert. Neither one of them is perfect. They have their flaws.
They do, you're right.
But for the most part, they've had
won.
winning programs.
They've won.
And Gilbert's won a championship. Obviously, he had LeBron, but the Guardians have been consistently good. If I'm a Cleveland sports fan, I get it. Football, for most people, is the most popular sport. I'm spending my hard-earned dollars on the Cavs and the Guardians, not on the Browns.
I agree.
We're going to spend the next majority of the show about those 15-0 Cavs, and we'll get into that after a quick word from Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike on other apps with Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you get your money back in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly just by playing $5. You don't even have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game when you want. 15-0, Jason. Tied for the second best start in NBA history. In your opinion, what has been the single most impressive part of this 15-0 start for these Cleveland Cavaliers?
It's actually sort of what I touched on at the Open. For me, it's the depth and the fact that Evan goes out and you hang 144 on a team in the NBA, and you actively sit Donovan to rest him, and you still hang 128 on the Hornets. But the fact that you can go as deep down this roster as they have, and still get the production that they have, Karis LeVert is having the season of his career. He leads the league in plus. I think he still leads the league in plus minus. He did
He
as
does,
of the
correct.
other night. Yeah, and Dean Wade, who I've been talking about Dean Wade for years, that there's something there, guys. He just has to stay healthy, and that's still true. He's got to be healthy for the postseason. It's something he hasn't been the last 2 years. And Sam Merrill, a guy like Sam Merrill, who they picked up on the margins, and you saw a little bit out of it last year. And now you're seeing more of it, and how far down they can go in this roster. And obviously everybody knows the Ty Jerome story and how remarkable that's been. And the guy just came out of nowhere. He's been a bit player in the NBA, and he's playing out of his mind. And I don't know why Dustin Hopkins.
Hopkins stats pop up there.
Facts.
But just how deep this team is, and Kenny Atkinson's commitment to continue to play all of them as long as he can, and to keep this rotation. By doing that, you keep everybody's minutes down. And Jarrett's peaked up the other night because Evan was out, but still, it wasn't anything obnoxious. What was he, 36 against the Bulls on Friday night?
Minutes?
Yeah, I
I
think
think 35 and a half.
Yeah, which is fine because Evan was out and whatever. But the fact that they continue to follow the plan and that they'll sit Donovan, despite having this incredible winning streak, to actively sit him and say, we can win without him, we can continue this without him, speaks to the depth on this team right now.
Is Ty Jerome the new Jeremy Lin, and can he keep it up?
I thought that Friday when we were talking to Legler, I almost asked him, because I
Yeah.
remember Legler and I were talking about, we were there together when Jeremy
Yeah.
Lin was happening, and I almost asked him that,
Yeah.
but we ran out of time. But I wonder that, too.
Hopefully, I mean, what was really stood out, by the way, guys, is yesterday was the first time he'd been a starter and played starter minutes.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, is he going to get exposed? I know they're not playing a great team, but he just took what he was doing over a few minutes, and it carried over. I mean, look at those numbers. That's fantastic.
I think the David Fry comparison is very apt. I think that's pretty. I think it's pretty similar to what we're seeing with Ty. Listen, if you're asking him to start 82 games and play 30, 35 minutes a night, you're probably not going to get this. But in the right moments, when you play him in the right spots, he's been a huge part of this team. Like you can't deny
And
how
doesn't
important
every
he's been.
team need that?
Yeah.
The reliable bench guy that can pick
yeah.
up valuable minutes. He's even done it in the clutch. Come in, played big minutes, and thrown daggers.
Yeah.
When the game's in the balance.
And Kenny Atkinson was asked afterwards, why'd you choose Ty Jerome to fill in for Donovan as opposed to Karras, who typically in the past, if either Donovan or Darius had been out, had filled in the starting lineup. And he said, we felt good with either, but we wanted to reward Ty for playing so well through the first 14 games.
cool.
He had earned the opportunity
Yeah.
for an increased role.
100%.
And in that increased role, Steve pull up his game stats again, 29. I mean, on the season, Donovan Mitchell's averaging 24.6 points and 4 assists. And last night, Ty Jerome filling in for Donovan Mitchell gave you 24 and 8. Like,
What's
how
he
often
signed
can
for?
you?
Is he a 1 year or 2 year?
He signed a 2-year deal last year, so this is the last year of his 2-year deal.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, we don't have him under contract, Jason.
Him and Karras.
You left Ty Jerome out of the mix.
I left Ty Jerome out of it. Him and
What
literally.
a find he's been.
If you
I
look,
mean,
go ahead.
no, go.
Hey, wait, Bo, real quick before you
Yeah.
mention that, because I want you to. The Cavs have tried to get Ty Jerome for a while now. Like, this was not just a random free agent signing last year. Kobe Altman has liked Ty Jerome
Yeah.
for
So
years,
that-
and
you know
they've
what?
tried to get him. Weren't able to prime away. He ended up signing with Golden State. He's been on the Cavs' radar for a while, and they were thrilled to sign him last year, and that's why it was so weird when he rolled his ankle in the second game of the season.
That
We
makes
didn't see him
Kobe look like a
forever.
mad genius.
They've done a nice job with. Again, we've talked about this for years. This part isn't anything new. We've talked about their ability to find and develop guys on the margins. They did it with Dean Wade. You can throw Ty in there. Sam Merrill. Who was the guy? I'm blanking. A couple years ago, wasn't much of a shooter, but played an important role in
Lamar
their team.
Stevens?
Yes, thank you, Lamar Stevens.
Forgot about that guy.
So
did too.
they've done a nice job of, and this is how you have to do it in the NBA. And there's more and more examples of guys like this that, there's only 31st round picks, and Kobe has always, and he and I had gone around and around on this. I had never really seen the value in second round picks, and he sees value in them. Also, to use them as sort of capital to move up and down. They were able to bundle a bunch of second round picks and move up and get Kevin Porter Jr. It didn't work, but it was a good shot to take, and the talent was there. Just the immaturity level sort of cost him in his time here. But they've done a nice job, really, with sort of the undrafted guys and guys who have been cast-offs by other teams. And I talked to Mike Brown last year when Sacramento was in town. They had Sam, and he said, "I love Sam Merrill," but I can't remember who the player was now. They picked someone over him because they felt like they needed a little bit more size. And Mike's like, "We missed. We should have kept Sam." And there's a lot of examples of that, of guys who bounce around from, they just need time. They need time to develop. And organizations, for one reason or another, run out of time with them, and then they go somewhere else, and it clicks for them. And Sam seems to be an example of that. How old is Sam? What is he, like 27? He's not young.
Sam Merrill?
Yeah.
I'll look it up. But no, he's older than you think because he played in the G League till he was 25.
Right.
So
Yeah, he might be like 28. I don't remember now. But he's not young, but he's
Merrill's
one of the
28.
Okay.
Turns 29 this season.
Okay, there you go. So, but he's a guy that just needed time to develop his game, to find his proper place, and they've done a nice job of finding those guys on the margins.
It's something to be said about the Cavs because we just killed Jimmy Haslam in the last segment, but Dan Gilbert has not been far from that. Dan Gilbert's reputation has been checkered. We don't remember it because he got the LeBron back. But we talked about before that. We talked about the championship run before LeBron came back. We said, hey, you had LeBron, the best player in the world, for how many years? 7, 8 years, you didn't put a team around him. We talked about, Jason talks about all the time how Dan Gilbert had his fingerprints on everything, from the minute things to the huge things. But it just goes to show you that, yes, coaching matters. Yes, the way you evaluate talent in markets like this really, really, really matters. Because if you think about it, what set them up the right way was, hey, you got Donovan Mitchell. He stayed. He became a cornerstone and a piece and a part. You hit on Evan Mobley. You got Darius Garland, and then you were able to rehabilitate him to a certain extent and get him back to what he was before. And you made smart trades like going to trade for Jared Allen, right? Those are things that you could do to get yourself back into a championship window. But what puts you over the top is the Ty Jeromes. What puts you over the top is the Dean Wades. Those are the guys. You go back and look at what Denver was able to do when they won a championship. Those are, you could look at any team. The Norris Coles during the Miami Heat time, the Mario Chalmers back then, even with the Boston Celtics, the Eddie Houses, and guys like that are the big Baby Davises that are on the fringes, that every time you would turn the game on, you'd be like, man, KG is struggling, but they got Big Baby Davis. They got 12 points. Those are the dudes that kill you. And the Cavs have multiple guys like that now that all have different skill sets and that really match and fit. I'll be interested to see their demeanor when they play Boston, because it'll be really impressive if they go out there and look at Boston and play like, we don't respect y'all. Y'all good, but we feel like we can play with you. Like if they win that game,
I can guarantee that's their mindset. They are not scared of anybody right now.
They
said it last night. Darius Garland said last night in the post game, for the first time in my career, I'm the hunted. I've been the hunter my entire life, and I like being the hunted. And he was the last one to talk, so we didn't get to follow up with anyone else to see if they had the same mindset. But he said, unprompted, by the way, it wasn't someone asked him just about the matchup with Boston, and his words were, "No, we're the hunted now. We're the big dogs. Like, they're coming for us, not the other way around."
I was talking to Tristan Friday night after the game, and I said, like, and the fact that tomorrow night's an NBA Cup game makes it all the better. And, like, last year I dismissed, and I still think it's kind of silly. I still think this NBA whole thing is just silly. But it gives them something to play for, and it creates high-pressure, high-leverage moments at a time that otherwise wouldn't.
That's why I like it.
And I told Tristan, hey, go for it. Like, go for it. Go all out for this. And he said, yeah, like, for sure. Because what better experience? For as good as this team is, they still don't have a ton of experience in those high-pressure. Last time was their first time in the conference semifinals. And every round, everything gets ratcheted up. Sure. So go get the experience of lifting a trophy. Even if it's like sort of a silly little trophy that I don't know. You know, I was laughing last year when the Lakers raised it. They were like, oh, what do we do with this thing? We're supposed to hold it up and celebrate it like we do, a normal championship. But just get the experience of winning something that matters, winning something that's meaningful, and lifting the trophy. Even if it's not the actual one, hey, that's still experience that you can go back on. If they win this NBA Cup thing, that's still something that can carry over to when it really matters. And for everyone that sort of dismissed the Indiana Pacers for making it to the Cup last year, they also made it to the conference finals. And I still wouldn't call Indiana a top 3 team in the East, but I have to believe that one certainly played a part in the other.
Competition is huge. Like, when you're playing and practicing, and McNuggets knows this, when you in basketball, coaches do a good job of everything is competition. Everything is, whether it's free throws, whether it's who's running suicide and baseline sprints, whether it's shootout, or can we get 3 stops in a row. Teams who are hyper competitive. I finally watched the, what is it called, the Swamp Story with Tim Tebow and them with Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
And they talked about how they was like, yo, we wasn't going out to them clubs at 12 o'clock. We got up every night at 12 midnight and we worked out by ourselves. And they were like, we were going in here maxing out. Guys are busting their tails, and that was what we was looking for at 12.
I think Aaron Hernandez.
Aaron was definitely going out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he lifted them weights, and then got his pistol, and then he
lifted
went out.
them bodies.
He might have lifted his weights with his pistol.
My goodness, Tim Tebow was even praying for the man, and it just didn't really work.
Those prayers were not answered.
Just wild. But look, If they gonna win that championship, listen, I was laughing back. Sam Merrill, part of the greatest summer league squad of all time, hosted that trophy. Look how it jettisoned him right now to a position.
Jay, what's been the most
I
impressive
can't
part
put
of
the summer league.
Yeah,
I can't put the summer league
I can
trophy.
make some of those dots connect. I can't connect that.
You see him and Porter Jr. You look how they've transitioned.
I'll allow the NBA Cup. You can't get me to the Summer League Cup.
Let me put warm water on that real quick. The Cavs were 0-4 in the preseason this year.
Jay, what's been the most impressive thing in this 15-0 run in your mind?
Their depth. I'm just blown away by their depth. It's almost like it happened overnight, but it really hasn't. It's been there all along. It just needed the right chef. The ingredients were there, and last year they were thrown into a crock pot, and the meal was okay. It was okay.
Yeah.
But this year, everything's been sautéed and seasoned and flavored, and you're not putting this ingredient in until last, because when you do, it pulls out some of this ingredient, and it takes a master chef to know how to do that. And I feel like, and I know it's way too early to proclaim him a mad scientist and some kind of a genius, but Kenny is just hitting all the right buttons, pulling all the right levers. I love the fact that he said of last night's game, Donovan is scheduled to sit. He's going to sit. We're going to give him a steamroll of rest going into a Boston game, which is obviously going to take more effort. So he's got so many resources. He's able to say, okay, I'm going to take this one, put that over there, you get healthy, and this one's going to go over here, and this one's going to come from here, and I'm going to put him into the starting role, and then we're going to see what happens. And you talk about the in-season tournament. I was worried when they were playing the Bulls, because that was the game, right? The Bulls.
Friday Bulls.
Yeah, I was worried a little bit about that, because I'm like, damn, even if they win this game, the point differential, which matters, is going to be 3 or 5. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, and this was what I most loved about Friday night, there was 18 seconds to go or something, and Donovan Mitchell's like, yep, take that.
Yep.
You never,
pushing
ever,
the ball.
The
ever
crowd
see
went
that.
crazy.
I was going crazy in my house. I was going crazy.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, that's a killer instinct I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he took the shot because the point differential matters.
Right.
And then they came back on the ensuing possession and played defense. So they are very much aware of everything in this moment. They're aware of the record. They're aware of this in-game tournament and how it's very important. They know Boston's already lost.
Yeah.
Boston's in their group.
Yeah.
Boston lost to Atlanta. So if they win this, they're going to come out of this group in a very, very good position. So I just love everything. There is really nothing about this 15 games that I could even say, oh, I don't like this. I like it all.
I think the most important thing to me, though, Mike, is ultimately Evan Mobley, because of all of it. Like, we've seen Donovan be great. We've seen Josh Allen. We've seen
Jared
Allen. Couldn't think of his
Darius
name.
Garland.
We've seen Darius Garland be great before. I know it's new with Ty Jerome, but, like, this is it. This is the player that Jason's been telling us for 4 years has to be great. Okay. And for 3 years, it never looked like it was going to happen on offense.
Right.
It didn't.
I was wavering.
You had me on the ropes.
Jason
His
and I both.
offensive game.
You had me on the ropes last year.
was like this.
Yeah.
And then it went up here.
I was really discouraged.
And he is a completely different player. He plays with confidence like we've never seen. He is playing like an absolute dog
And
right
Legler
now.
said Friday, look, guys just develop at different times.
Yeah.
This is year 4 for him.
Yep.
He talked about some guys he plays with took 6. Some take 2. I think giving Atkinson a lot of the credit because he's this player development guy. But Legs is like, he gets some of the credit.
Oh, he gets a lot of the credit.
But ultimately, Mobley has to do the work. Mobley has to.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
Evan gets the credit.
Mobley has to see the beast within and believe it. And he has now.
That's why I joked after like 5 or 6 games, JB's got to be sitting in Detroit going, oh, sure, now you decide to do this.
gonna be that
Where
guy.
was this when I was
By
here?
the way, the Pistons are 7-8.
He's doing a great job in
Yes,
Detroit.
he is.
And you said when he went there, he's the perfect guy for where
perfect
Detroit
guy,
is.
yes.
Because Detroit is now where Cleveland was when
A
he came
couple years
here.
ago.
So all right, listen, we be doing all this flowery stuff, and y'all like, oh, these guys are great. But deep down in your heart, y'all know if we were like, yo, we gonna pick today, and you gotta pick, what percentage chance do you say the Cavs can win a championship?
Oh, Watson, much greater than it was when the season started.
Percent.
And I think what Jay said is the real point.
What, just for any team in any given year, what's the highest reasonable percentage generally?
30,
40,
maybe
35.
maybe
that's
35.
high.
That's 1 in 3.
I'm saying like when the Warriors had KD. Like
No, yeah, if you're talking about
like,
a dynastic team, it's probably
Well, that's
35.
what Bull just said. What's the highest? Like I think that's your.
But here's the way I do it. How many teams can you legitimately say?
I was just pulling that up.
Yeah,
I was just pulling that up
if
to
it's
look.
6, then it's an 18% chance.
I'll give you context. When the Cavs when LeBron from 14 to 18, they went to the finals every year, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I would give them a 70% chance every year.
Do you give this team as constituted a higher chance than any of those LeBron teams?
No.
But here's the thing.
Not yet.
We talked about this.
Different league.
Yes.
It is a different league. That's why.
This is a new NBA.
One player could take you to a title, especially with a
It's
wingman.
a different NBA. And previously you would never think a 5 or 6 seed could make the finals or win a championship. That's not the case anymore. They can't.
Well, look at Indiana last year.
I'm putting this team over the 18 Cavs.
Well, you also have to look at the competition.
The 18 Cavs, they made it to the finals. They had LeBron and Rodney Hood. This team is better than that one.
You also were going against
That team
an
still had
absolute.
LeBron.
You were going against a wagon in the Warriors of
Yes.
KD and Steph that you knew
It doesn't exist now.
That doesn't. Yeah, that team isn't really out there. So I would give this team a better chance, I guess, than. That 2017 Cavs team is the most talented Cavs team I've ever seen, period.
Yeah.
And they happen to run into a Warriors team that won 73 the year prior with Kevin Durant. So it's hard to say because it's completely different eras.
I think this team may be better than that 2018 team, but ultimately LeBron is LeBron.
Right.
And when you have LeBron, you always have a better chance
It's
to
the
win a
X factor.
championship.
So you can
especially
figure
in
this
his prime.
out. What are the odds that they win the championship today?
Yeah, can I add one more thing to the
Yes.
impressiveness of
Yes.
the start? There is no. Like, I go back and think of some of the mid-2010s teams that, like, when tanking was at its peak.
Yeah.
And some of those bad Sixers teams, they had maybe one guy in their 12-man rotation who would play on a good team. I go back to some of those Nets teams when they were going through their dormant years, and they were starting Jordan Farmar and Sheldon Williams and just Sean Steele, like, absolute nobodies. You look at every team in the NBA now. There's talent across the board. And on any given night, you can get got by anybody. Look at the Hornets last night.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily play winning basketball, and some of their guys aren't necessarily winning-style players. But, like, LaMelo Ball's a hooper. Brandon Miller can play. Josh Green is, like, a valuable role. Grant Williams was on a playoff team. They've beaten all these teams that have depth. The league is just deeper and more talented than it's ever been, and with a 3-point variance, like the Hawks when they beat the Celtics without Trae Young. We're 17-point underdogs, by the way. It just takes one team getting crazy hot from 3 to knock off an undefeated team or to pull off a crazy upset. And through 15 games, we're literally 4 weeks into the season. Like, the season started 4 weeks ago, and the Cavs still haven't lost. And they've put up against barrages from random teams on random nights. The Nets, for example, like this year. Cam Johnson can play on a playoff team. Cam Thomas is a 30-point-per-game scorer. Dennis Schroeder, not a great point guard, but he's serviceable. They just signed Nick Claxton to an extension. They're beating teams that have talent, and they're not going through, you played 15 games, but 7 were against teams that were trying to obliviously tank. All these teams are trying to win. The lottery odds are evened out. Bottom 4 teams all get the same percentage. So the fact that they're not just consistently winning, but they're beating teams that have legitimate NBA guys, maybe not 1 through 5, but at least 1 through 3 and a couple other pieces, I think makes, in context, 15-0 even more impressive.
I guess the question more is, where do you have the Cavs? Like right now today, do you think they have a better chance than the Celtics of winning a championship?
I think they're even right now with the Celtics.
I would say they're even. I would say more than any other year, their path is very visible. We talked about it. Milwaukee is playing horrible. Like,
But it's early. It's a long season.
I get it, but the Sixers, they're playing horrible. All these teams with these superstars that you would thought were going to be like in contention, the Cavs will be the number 1 or number 2 seed if things continue to go the way they are, and then they will play the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals.
What does Vegas say? Who right now is the
Cavs still had
still
the
the
eighth,
Celtics?
as of last week, we're still 8th to win the championship.
Well, I'd jump on that before it changes because that's not gonna
probably
stay there.
changed even since then.
Up to the minute right now, I'm pulling up FanDuel, who's a sponsor. I got to get a read-in for FanDuel in 1 second. But the Cavs are 15-1 to win the championship right now. The 7th best odds. They're tied for 6th. best odds in basketball.
Who's ahead of them?
I think that's a play. I think
Boston is plus 260. They have the best odds. Oklahoma City 5-1. The Knicks 8-1.
Let's put a show bet on that. Let's get a pool of money, and let's put a show bet on the Cavs at 15-1. I like that.
Who else is ahead
and
of
I
us?
don't bet.
You said they're fifth, Mike?
7.
No, then the
7.
Mavericks are 10-1. The Timberwolves 13-1, and they're tied with the Nuggets and the Suns at 15-1. And the Warriors, who by the way are the 1 seed in the West at 10-2, are 25-1.
Wow.
There's a lot of teams the Cavs better than. There's a lot of
The Cavs are playing better basketball than any team in the league.
Yeah.
Right,
Right,
now.
but it's not about who's playing the best
And if you
basketball in
want to
November.
argue, should they be 1, 2, 3 because you want to put someone else a little higher, then whatever. But
as a gambler,
they're
when
playing
you
elite.
see that there's
it's great
7,
value.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
you're like,
Great
wait a
value.
minute,
I'll be
that's a
down.
value bet.
Yeah, it is. The Suns are still sort of the old school model. Like they're the one team still trying to play, not the one, but they're a team still trying to play the old way with like a top-heavy roster. There's a lot of holes on that roster, though, and they're still trying to do it the old way. The Thunder, I was joking with Tristan the other night. The NBA is going to lose its mind when it's a Cavs Thunder NBA Finals for the next 3 years.
Man, you aren't kidding.
Like they will.
be a
And both
ratings
those teams
disaster.
are set up for future success tremendously.
Yeah,
well.
there are no. Mike and I were talking about this. I think I'm going to write about this for tomorrow. There are no healthier cap sheets going forward than the Cavs and the Thunder in the NBA for
Well, what I
setup
love
for
about
long-term
that is
sustainable success.
I think the NBA righted a wrong. The NBA was going down a dangerous rabbit hole in that it was becoming like Major League Baseball. The coastal population centers had a huge advantage over everyone else because they could spend more money on players. And you were seeing all of those big threes, Boston, Miami, LA,
Not New York.
Golden State, not New York. Well, New York is kind of like the
Brooklyn.
Browns of the NBA.
No, Brooklyn was.
Brooklyn was trying. They were trying.
weren't any good,
But what I
though.
liked about it was the NBA made the decision that's great for the select few, but it's not the best interest of the league. Let's grow the league. They've leveled the playing field for all teams, and it's interesting that it's the middle of America teams, the Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Cleveland, that have sort of figured this out. And now, when the ratings numbers come in from the finals,
That's it.
that's when you pay the piper.
Yep.
And that's why baseball right now is laughing all the way into the 2025 season. They didn't care who won. Once New York and LA got in, they won.
Yeah.
And that's what I talked about last year when Boston won and everyone's throwing their hands up going, well, who'd they play? I'm like, guys, this is what you get.
what
This
it's
is
gonna be.
this is the trade-off to the parity is you're going to keep saying, well, who do they play? Well, who do they play? Because there is no Miami Heat team of the Wade, LeBron, Bosh years. There's no Cavs of Kevin, Kyrie, LeBron, the Warriors. Like those teams that the NBA is actively
can't
trying
do it
to
anymore.
disassemble that. And which is why I've said it before, when you start hitting those tax thresholds, you better be whole. You better have a whole team, because if you get into that and you still need to look for this, this, and this, you're not going to be able to find it. And that's why by the Cavs signing all the guys that they have, where's their, like, we have to do a thing for the Athletic coming up of like what's this team's biggest need going to the trade deadline. I'm like, I don't know. They're 15-0. You tell
what it
me.
is? Health.
What's their need?
It's health.
Yeah, it
That's
really.
it.
But
Yeah.
like in terms of a roster piece, they are a whole team, and they haven't even hit those tax thresholds.
Jason, if you had to bet right now on the Celtics or Cavs winning a championship, who are you betting on?
See, the Boston has the pedigree. They have the championship experience. That's huge. The Cavs haven't made it even to a conference finals yet. If they're healthy, if both teams are healthy, I think it's a coin flip. And I'm not trying to dodge it, but I really think it's a coin flip. And that's, I mean, I've come a long ways. Just in going that
Oh,
far.
at the beginning of the year, I would have said 95-5 Celtics.
I don't know if it would have been that big. I would have said 85-15.
Now I'm like, I think I'd still have to give a slight edge
I'll
to
tell
the
you tomorrow
Celtics,
night
but-
at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll see what happens tomorrow, right?
I thought at the beginning of the year, I thought Boston, Milwaukee were clearly better than Cleveland, and the Knicks. I kept going back. I think some days I said the Knicks were, and some days I said no, they weren't. So like, I had them at fourth at best, or third at best, and maybe fourth. And obviously Milwaukee's completely unraveling. They're trying to put the wheels back on. The Knicks, we'll see. You know, they still got to do it in the playoffs.
Is Paul DePodesta helping the Bucks? Can you look into that?
The only team right now that you could say is better than the Cavs would be the Celtics. That's the only team. in the
55.
East.
I mean, right now I don't
And
think
even
you can
that-
say any team.
even that is
but
a coin flip.
55-45 Celtics.
I'd give the
edge.
Celtics a slight
They have
edge
the
right now.
They have the
They're the
championship
champs.
pedigree.
Yeah, you got it.
They've done it.
Yeah.
And that matters in the NBA.
Yes, it
playoff
does.
Experience matters. I got to get a quick reading, guys. We'll get back to the Cavs, but time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Well, you can check out some of the free courses that Hillsdale College, our sponsor, is offering right now. Yeah, you heard me right. It is 40 free online courses, including The Great American Story, A Land of Hope, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever, tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That is hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Jason and Jay, you both said the bench was the most impressive part of the Cavs' 15-0 start. Do you also believe that's their biggest advantage over other teams in the East, mainly the Boston Celtics right now? Is the Cavs bench essentially their secret weapon?
I would say their depth, and I know it sounds like that's the bench, but I just think that the depth in their starting lineup is a huge advantage. In this era where you can't afford to go out and get 3 superstars, I feel like they have 3. I feel like with Mobley playing the way he is, and Mitchell at an MVP level, and Garland back to All-Star Garland, I think they've cracked the code. So for me, it's their depth in starting lineup, depth in roster, depth in bench.
I would say it's not the same as depth, but I would say versatility. And I would say the versatility defensively. When you watch them do pick and rolls, or when you have them big switch out, the Cavs don't miss much at all. You see Jared Allen night in, night out, hedging out on ball screens, doing different things, and making point guards take 6-7 dribbles to either get past him or swing the ball. When you have 2 guys like that and bigs that can both run the floor, they're both rim protectors, they're good weak side defenders. Also, they're very smart when it comes to the rotations defensively. I think the thing that really helps the Cleveland Cavaliers is that you have 2 7-footers. Also, a guy like Dean Wade, who is a very good plus-minus defender and has length and is long, that can also stay in front of guards. I think that's the biggest advantage because offensively, they already know what their roles are. Jared Allen knows exactly where he's going to get his shots at. Evan Mobley has now expanded his role. There's better spacing. But defensively is where the Cavs are slightly underrated in the 15-0 move. And I think that is going to pay dividends when they do play the Celtics, because when you do get Tatum and Brown, 6'7", 6'8 guys, athletic wings, the Cavs defensively don't lose a lot. Like, if Evan Mobley switched out on Jason Tatum, yeah, that's kind of a mismatch, but he's going to make Jason Tatum work. He's got length. He's going to contest the shot. And, you know, the Cavs have been a solid rebounding team as well. So I think the length and their defenders and 2 7-footers that can move their feet at the perimeter, I think that's the biggest advantage over other teams.
Boston's deep too. Like there's other teams that are deep. So I know it sounds like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth because the previous question I said it was their depth, but in this instance, I actually think it's the way they're playing on offense is their biggest advantage, because Mike and I sat together Friday night during the Bulls game, and I was clumsily trying to dig through some of the numbers, and I don't want to get confusing with too many of the numbers, but here's what we sort of drilled down to was they are creating more wide open shots earlier in the clock than they did in the past. And we've talked about that before, about their pace, they're playing faster. Well, by playing faster, you're getting into your offense quicker. And the NBA does a great job with all their data of breaking down, like, where in the shot clock are you getting your shots, early, middle, late. And in the past, they were getting a lot of shots that were maybe good, not great looks, and they were coming late in the clock. This year, they're taking 20 shots, roughly, that are with closest defender 6 feet away or farther. And that's actually not the best. Like, Charlotte was higher. Mike, OKC was higher.
They led the league in it.
They were
Is
around
that ball movement?
20. Yeah, it's ball movement.
Driving kick.
It's the drive kick swing that Draymond was talking about, and it's doing it earlier in the clock. So they're getting into these shots at the 17, 18 range on the shot clock rather than 4 or 5, and they're creating better looks, and they're going in. And I was talking to Donovan after the game, and I said, on these wide open looks, 6 feet or farther, what percentage should you shoot on that? And he's like, I'm not good at this, and like I always want. Every player thinks you should make them all. But he said realistically, probably like 45%, and that's probably high. They were at 50%. They're making 50% of their shots when the closest defender is 6 feet away or farther. And is that sustainable? No.
Will the league eventually figure that out? I mean, they always do.
Well, you can't figure it out when
you're
it's
chasing your tail.
That's it. When you're making the extra pass, which is what they've been so good at this year. How do you defend that?
Right.
And when the ball's popping like that, and when it's moving, and like we always talk drive and kick. Drive and kick, drive and kick. That's what the LeBron teams are so good at. Drive, kick to the shooter in the corner. Well, the Cavs are drive, kick, swing it to the guy on the wing who's even more open.
What if off-ball defenders start anticipating that pass before it happens?
Well, then it's then you take the kick. You take the kick shot.
Right.
And you don't make the extra pass. Like
you can't defend it.
Mike
You just hope they miss.
It seems like it's tough to stop.
It's a make or miss league.
They have a counter right now. They have a counter to everything that you try to do to them defensively. But if they continue to shoot, and that's the thing, like Charlotte is taking more wide open threes than the Cavs, but their percentage I think was like 38.
They took some horrible shots last night.
Well, I'm just saying,
That's
like
how they play. They chuck through.
I mean, they were shooting. At one point, they tried one from the logo, and there was still 4 seconds on the shot clock.
That's LaMelo Ball. That's just how.
Yeah, I know he is. I know you like him, but he's reckless. Some of the shots he takes, I'm like,
he's not a winning player. He's a hooper. Big difference.
Well, he thinks he's Steph, and he's not.
But the teams that are shooting more frequency and the wide open threes are not shooting as high as a percentage as the Cavs. So, and Kenny Atkinson keeps saying, we're shooting above our heads right now. We're shooting above our heads. He's been saying that for 2 weeks, and the numbers have not normalized yet because while, yes, okay, they're shooting above their skis, they're also getting incredible looks.
That's what I'm saying.
So even if they don't shoot 50% on wide open threes, if they shoot 45%, that's still an incredible number.
It's sustainable.
And that's where that is sustainable.
Yeah.
The biggest advantage for the Cavaliers are the 3 C's, guys. Let's start with confidence. This team is playing with a ton of confidence. Everybody believes in themselves, and most importantly, everybody on this team believes in each other. That's why they're passing the ball. Because everybody on this team, from their best player down, led by Donovan Mitchell, knows that they trust these other guys to make shots or make the right pass.
Right.
And why do they have that? Because they have chemistry. That's the second C. This team has chemistry. They love playing together. We've kind of scoffed at they're all a bunch of nice guys when it hasn't panned out at the end of the year. But right now, the fact that they're a bunch of nice guys and they like playing with each other, and they've shown this dog in them this year we haven't seen as a team, their chemistry is great. And why do you have great chemistry and great confidence? Because of continuity. They've played together, all these guys, now for a while. You look at the Knicks, why are they struggling? Part of the reason they're struggling is because they made a bunch of moves and they've kind of shaken up what their team was. They had a lot of success last year. They broke it up to some degree, and now, at least early in the season, they're paying the price for that. The Cavs have the 3 C's, and that gives them an advantage over everybody except for maybe the C's, the Celtics. I don't know.
I like what you did there. I like it. No, I think I agree with everything you said there.
Thank
you. They are very confident.
Yeah.
Very confident.
Yes.
To Jason's point on ball movement and how when Steve, pull up that last video, 294 real quick. We talked about this on Friday. It's at the very bottom. We just pulled it in. And you can take it full, Steve. I don't have to be on camera. This is from the Sixers game last Wednesday. You can't stop this. Look at how in rotation Philadelphia is closing out, drive, kick. There's no way that you can cover all of that and still have the integrity in the lane. I put this together after the game because the unselfishness and the extra passing. He steps in to help, jump it off to the corner. When they're playing with this level of unselfishness, and I think it goes back to a lot of what Bull said, it's confidence, continuity, and chemistry. It allows you to know where certain guys are going to be, so you're not staring at open passes. It allows guys to shoot confidently, and when you're shooting 50% as a team, which essentially they are, it's easier to make the extra pass because you know, okay, this is a decent shot. I'm going to get a good shot, or I'm going to give up a good shot to get an even better shot. And I'm not kidding. There's no harder thing in basketball than to chase, recover, then chase again.
Oh, it's exhausting.
In constant motion, which the Cavs are doing, and it starts in high pick and roll. It starts off back cuts. It starts from the corner. It starts from the wing. They're getting into all these different actions in a variety of different ways. It is simply put beautiful basketball, and from a coaching standpoint, you can't ask for anything more than what they're currently getting from anyone who steps in.
I
And
agree.
Jay, to your point, you talked before about, okay, these games are close, and then all of a sudden, the last few minutes, the Cavs just pull away.
Yeah.
Think about this. I didn't really think about it. I guess it's pretty obvious, but I didn't really think about it until Mike brought up the point that this is the hardest thing in basketball is chasing guys down. Well, think about these teams. You're chasing players down for 40-something minutes. These other teams probably gassed by the end of the game.
They're putting
and
teams
that's
in
why
the
the
spin
Cavs
cycle.
are able to pull away
Yes,
at the
you're
end.
right.
They always talk about, defensively in the NBA, making multiple efforts. And those multiple efforts are, when they're kicking and they're driving and penetrating, and then, you're helping on guys that are getting to the basket, you're a help side defender, but then you got to get back to your man, or you got to hedge and get back. Like, that's difficult. And the most demoralizing thing is when you do all of that and get a good shot hand up and it still go in. You're like, man, this a bunch of you-know-what.
Yeah.
Or if you got everybody hitting. Usually, if you got a team that can't really shoot, they got a couple of shooters on the floor, and you're like, okay, well, we'll leave you alone. You know how it is. Back in the day, Cavs were one of the great teams that said, all right, well, we got Kevin Love out there. We got Korver out there. Our 5-man is out here shooting the ball, and then you got LeBron and Kyrie that can't be stopped one-on-one. You're just sick to your Channing Frye's hitting threes. You're just done.
It's a make or miss league. Like, how many times have you heard that? Like, you can do all of that, get the wide open
Still
look.
got to make it.
And it's not going to go. And they're gonna have nights. Believe it or not, they are going to have nights where they're 6 of 27 from three.
They're going to hit a stretch.
They're 9 to
Yeah,
30.
sure.
They're 9 to 38 from three. And then what do you do?
Yeah.
Well, they have the pieces to still win. They could still win defensively. They still have guys who can get to the basket, whatever. But I'm interested to see when those nights come, and they will come.
How do they? What
What
do
do
they
you
go
do?
to? Yeah, that's fascinating. I can't wait for tomorrow night.
Might be one of them games tomorrow night.
It could be.
I hope not.
I mean, the Celtics, they have a good way.
They're long. They're switchy.
Yep.
I can't wait. I mean, I'm watching the pregame for that. I'm watching halftime. I love games on TNT. The Cavs haven't been on TNT the last few years very often. I love it. I can't wait to watch that.
It is going to be the talk of the NBA world, and if they beat the Boston Celtics, they would be 16-0, which would be a standalone second-best start in NBA history. And as Tim Legler said, and Jay, you mentioned, with the Warriors win streak, it reaches a point where it can't be ignored and then becomes a nightly story.
Yeah.
If the Cavs get to 16-0 by beating the Celtics in Boston,
They're there.
Wednesday, it is the lead
100%.
story, or Tuesday
Without
night, the lead
question.
story. Wednesday, the lead story, and every game they play from there on out until they lose is the lead story. We're going to get two reads in here real quick, and then we'll get to our next topic. But you guys know that history, economics, and the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution are all things you may have studied in school, or even if you didn't, maybe it's time for a refresher now, or a tune-up in your knowledge. Time and technology have changed a lot of things, but they have not changed some of the basic fundamental truths about our world and the place we live in it. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free online courses, including Introduction to Free Market Economics and Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever, tune in wherever, and you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, and discussions, or simply just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. And also, guys, you can tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Bull, did you think at any point in yesterday's game against the Saints that the Browns quit?
I felt like I did feel like at the very end, when Taysom Hill had that last run to make it 35, that the defense quit on that play. Juan Thornhill, he stopped running. after Taysom Hill. I think everybody's seen the video by now. Maybe not.
That was the MVS touchdown, by the way, not Taysom.
That was
it was.
early.
Right.
That was early.
Okay, I'm confusing the two. But
He wasn't going to catch Scantling on his best day.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
not
yeah.
catching him. But still, you can't stop.
I thought on that last touchdown, they didn't care. They were not interested in doing what they had to do to get Taysom Hill. You never know if saying guys are quitting is pretty strong. I think they felt defeated by that last time Taysom Hill went, and so their best effort was not there.
Yeah.
I think that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I don't think they quit. I really don't. The Thornhill play is bad. Like, you got to run. It looks bad on tape, but I can also show you plays across the league every week that are
right.
just like that.
Yeah.
Where guys are jogging and they probably
But he
should
did
be
an awful
running.
lot of talking when he came here. For a guy who's done nothing, very little on the field.
I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just saying that's not an anomaly. You see that
You're
a
right.
lot across
That's
the league.
true.
And I do think it just sort of snowballed on him. And actually, like, if you remember, like, it's really bad coming off a bye week to put up a 35-14 loss. Same thing
To a
happened.
bad team.
Same thing happened to Miami a couple years ago. The Browns had an extra week of preparation. They went to Miami. They got boat raced to Miami. You remember that? And all that same talk about, well, what's Kevin doing during the bye? And you should get him up out of here and get him fired. And maybe they do make wholesale changes. That's the way it's headed. I don't know. I didn't want to get into all that right now. But did they quit? I don't think they quit. I think they just got defeated by the moment. And this is what you get. And now you got a lot more games to go that aren't looking a whole lot better than what we just came off of.
When you quit, you don't quit all at once. There's moments where you can see what a team is talking about. And those moments, those very small, minute details, coaches that say this all the time and they think it's cliche, either you won today or you lost today. Did you win on that play or did you lose on that play? And when you have enough losses in a row, what starts to happen is people start to not lose on film, they start losing in every other aspect. So they lose in their preparation. They lose in, once again, guys not being assured of who has who in the secondary. Communication. You lose with your effort play, and you start to say, well, so-and-so will make the tackle instead of you busting your tail like you're fully invested in making a play like only you can make that play. And I thought it was a telltale sign of what happened in that game as we talk about everybody who's moving around. You got Zadarius Smith, right? I've never seen this in my life. I've never seen somebody get pulled on camera that did not play. He was pulled onto camera, and they said, Zadarius, how do you feel? He's going on a happy tour, like he's Tom Cruise, like jumping on the couches, talking about, I met Katie Holmes, I'm in love. You doing that? He in street clothes, Jay, on couches. You got Amari Cooper. Talk about that. I ain't never been this happy for a win. Boy.
That comment was telling.
And that man, I ain't never seen him. He got captions under his name. This is in closed captions. That's how least he talked in his whole career.
We have the soundbite if anyone didn't hear
I
it
think
and
it's
wants
worth
to hear it.
playing only for the reason that he specifically, without saying Cleveland was ass and the culture there is awful, he said it. I think we should play it.
Here's the soundbite from Amari Cooper following the Bills' win over the Chiefs yesterday.
It's the first time in a long time that I've actually felt joy, from winning this game, from, just the way we played, from having so many guys on the team who, are playmakers and they come up and they show up when their number is called. Collectively as a group, it's just amazing. A lot of the guys here, it's just kind of a different place too. Buffalo compared to some of the other places I've been to. So a lot of the guys, it's a tight-knit group, I would say. A lot of the guys go out together. They hang around each other 24/7, and it truly shows up on the field. It truly does. It's first time.
Bro, you cut off I thought the most important part was the end of it. No, the end of it where he said,
I didn't cut it off. That's what was posted.
Oh, okay. I saw the full clip somewhere else last night. He went on to say that it's a close-knit group and it's so much different from other places I've been. Well, we know where he's been, Dallas,
Raiders,
the Raiders,
Browns,
and the Browns.
Messes
and they're pretty much all dumpster fires.
Yep.
And now he's in a winning organization with good culture.
By the way,
and it's totally different for
By
him.
the way, there were an awful lot of people, I was not one of them, but some people in this studio were, that were writing off the Bills at the beginning of the season because they didn't have the skill position players.
Who wrote them off?
I think it was G. Bush, but I'm not 100% sure.
Was that?
Bust out the tapes, Mike.
I thought
I'm pretty
I was
sure you had them low down your
Yeah,
rankings.
you just
at
took
some point
friendly
in the offseason.
fire. Didn't
like
even know it.
I was
That
like,
shows you what the difference.
I don't even have Bills
G.
takes.
Bush taking strays.
I was like, Bills takes. I thought I was more of the kill the Bengals takes.
That's why a great quarterback makes the difference.
I have to say, I have been watching and covering football. I've been covering it for 37 years. I've been watching it for over 50. I've never seen a game that leaves me more mystified than yesterday's. And that's saying something. I've seen a lot of football. I'll just read you some numbers. Time of possession, pretty much a wash. 29-22 to 30-38. So the Browns possessed it just 38 seconds less than the Saints. We won first downs, 22-19. This was really interesting. The total net yards was 443 for the Browns, 473 for the Saints. If you just looked at they played a perfect game. They weren't penalized much. They didn't turn the ball over. They lost by 3 touchdowns.
But this is
well, they missed 3 field goals.
Okay, so that's 9 points.
but this
No,
is
no, now they
Really,
lose
really
by-
two because the
The
third one.
second
Yeah,
one was on the
yeah.
same possession.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
and they missed, the extra point that they took off the board to get greedy and go for 2, and then got that
but
nothing
then
in
they
their
got
hands.
then they got the other two to
But
make up for that.
what my point here is, so if you just looked at the stats and you didn't know what the final score was, you would say it's like a 28-24 game. I don't know who won, but everything's close. Time of possession, yards, everything is. But we won the turnover battle. We
Jay,
didn't turn the ball over, and
This
we
is
lost by
wild.
3 touchdowns.
This is devastating. This is why when we talk about what's wrong with the Browns, do you realize that if Deshaun Watson would have put up that game that Jameis Winston put up, they would have put a statue. Do you know what the people would have said?
It's unbelievable,
He
his
threw
numbers.
for 400
And I think he's headed to the bench,
yards.
isn't he, Jay? He's headed to the bench.
I'd bench him.
Look at this. That's crazy.
Okay, so you're going to bench him.
That's
And-
crazy.
And by the way, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And next year he's going to be a New York Jet or whatever.
this is
but,
wild.
But here's what's remarkable to me about this: the man's averaging over 300 yards in his 3 starts.
Yeah.
He's thrown 7 touchdowns.
Everybody but Deshaun throws for 300 yards for the Browns.
But here's
I know,
the thing.
but here's what's amazing.
But I thought it was a quarterback though.
They're going to move off of him because we have to see what DTR is. But this man, I'm telling you, he's going to be benched. In my view, I think they're going to come out this
I don't
week
think
and
they're going
say,
to bench him this week. It's a short week.
Well, that's true.
Why else are you? You know
Next
what?
week.
You're right. I didn't think about
He'll
that.
get benched
You're right.
probably after the Steelers
but
game.
It's clear to me that he's not their long-term guy.
No.
But if you just look at his numbers in a vacuum, like, he's not the reason they're losing.
What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Well, what are you guys trying to say?
What are we
You think they should
doing?
move forward with Jameis?
No. What I'm saying is the dude threw. This is what there are people jumping up and down at home. They said, "Listen, you said we getting the worst quarterback play in the world, the worst." That man played one of the best games I've ever seen, statistically speaking, as a Cleveland Brown. If those numbers were on anybody else, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, we'd be cheering. They not only didn't win, they got beat soundly. So what does that say about your problems as an organization when your quarterback just threw for 400?
But it was 14-14 going in the fourth quarter, and the defense unraveled in the fourth quarter especially. But here's
And the
thing.
offense didn't score enough points.
No, but because that's what I was
They
going to
needed
say.
to score more than 20.
This is the
Well, which they
NFL.
would've had.
but it's mystifying.
No, but this is the NFL. We've said this. Defenses will give you whatever you want from the 20 to the 20.
Right.
You can throw it.
But
You can
no one
pile
else
up
is
all the
doing
yards
that,
that you
though,
want.
Jay.
What do you mean? No. What do you mean?
Who else is
threw
doing
for
that?
400 yards yesterday?
What other
You-
Cleveland
when you
Browns threw for
can't- when you
400?
Joe Burrow's done it 5 times and lost.
What
What are
other
you talking about?
What other Cleveland Browns quarterback threw for 400?
I don't think that's what you were saying.
I'm
No.
saying it. Answer.
His
I don't-
point is different than my point.
Okay.
If you want to make yours, because I know where you're going
The
with
point.
yours.
The point of it is, guys, we sat here for 8 to 10 weeks, months, years, and said you can't win. We bring Sean King on here and say, yeah, the production is 130, 150. You can't win that way. The man threw for 400 yards. no interceptions. The Browns run the turnover battle, and you still lost. What does that tell you? That tells you is not just that. They got more problems. They got special teams they can't figure out.
No one's going to argue with that.
G. I don't understand.
What I'm saying is,
nobody's saying it's only the quarterback.
What I'm saying is, I don't understand. I can't even fix my mouth to say that dude threw for 400, but I'm thinking about playing DTR.
It's not just about you. Listen, Winston played well. Let's not talk about the greatest game ever. You're not just judged based on yardage. He didn't get it. Listen, he played really well, but he didn't play well enough. He could have played better. He could have gotten to the end zone more.
I'll take over. I know.
Gee, you think you played the greatest game ever when you got 2 touchdowns?
Listen, bro, he has to. Listen, the man put up 400 yards.
There's other statistics
Other people have to do their job.
Yes,
I agree, but
why do we minimize other people's ability? The offensive line can't block. They can't run the football.
But who disagrees with you?
He threw for 400 yards, and we're talking about DTR.
Because
that has nothing to do with him.
What? Am I crazy?
No, I know exactly what you're saying. I'm telling you, I've said it for weeks. The Browns have never looked at Jameis as the long-term option. They never have. You can kill him for that.
That means he probably is the long-term option.
You can kill him for that. I'm just telling you. They have never looked at him
Jason,
that way.
to that point, you lose credence when your track record is you move on from guys that might be the guy and you bring in guys that definitively are not. You have no cachet.
But we don't know that DTR is definitively not. We don't know that Jameis Winston definitely is.
But here's the thing.
He's played 2 good games against terrible defense.
If I just gave you his numbers and you said, wow, those are AFC Player of the Week numbers, guys.
Yeah.
There's no question. He threw 2 touchdowns, almost 400 yards, completed 60% of his... That's how you win the AFC Player of the Week.
Well, he's not going to win Player of the Week.
Of course he's not. His team lost by 21 points. Yeah. But I think... I have so many questions about this. Was it addressed last night why Nick Chubb became the invisible man? Is he hurt?
No.
Someone said he was benched. I didn't hear anything about him getting benched, but he was not.
Well, he was benched. No. He was benched. He was not in the game. He was benched.
I don't know why.
I don't know why.
Yeah. Stefanski's speaking right now. So
11 carries, 50 yards. We all said Saints is going to be his breakout game. He was averaging 5 yards a carry. That's Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
What? We saw him 11 times. It was tied in the fourth quarter. Why was Nick Chubb not on the field?
There's no good answer for that.
But these are the things that I'm wondering, you know what Jimmy wants? Jimmy wants 30 completions and 47 attempts for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. This is the football Jimmy's been begging for.
Well, I'm not blaming Jimmy for that. That's Kevin Stefanski.
Listen, you can blame Jimmy if Jimmy's telling his chief strategy officer or the chief strategy officer is telling Jimmy that's how you win in the league.
No.
Listen,
Kevin Stefanski's the coach, Jay. If he is listening to that,
I get it.
Then that's on him.
But Kevin Stefanski's not even calling the plays anymore. So what I'm telling you is you want to see the ball flying all over the yard. Well, we saw it. And we lost by 3 touchdowns. 3. ESPN will deep dive this. We'll probably hear this stat later in the day. This is just my guess. It's my guess that this is the first time in NFL history that a quarterback has thrown for nearly 400 yards with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. The team did not turn the ball over, and they lost by 3 touchdowns.
You only scored 2 touchdowns.
I can't add this up to make it make sense.
Because this is the NFL.
I bet it's happening.
They give you whatever you want for the 20s.
So this has happened in the NFL this year?
No. I'm saying defenses will give you whatever you want, 20s to 20s. It's about the red zone. Who's scoring touchdowns? Who's kicking field goals?
I understand
the Browns
that.
missed 2 field goals. The Saints scored all touchdowns.
It's a combination.
I understand that.
Jay, it's a combination of mostly the defense was terrible.
Well, that's a big part of it.
The defense was awful.
Terrible.
They didn't run the ball enough. Agreed. Also, they didn't get the ball in the end zone enough. They only got the ball in the end zone twice. I don't care about his passing.
When it was 14-14 in the fourth quarter, I said, okay, we're here.
Yep.
It's late. It's close. Why do you have Nick Chubb on your team? Run clock, move the chains. Nick Chubb's in mothballs, and I'm waiting. I'm actually screaming at the television because I'm saying, where's the sideline reporter in this game?
Let's talk about
Nick Chubb is the kind of player that if he's out of the game, I want to know about it. If I'm watching the Rams and Puka Nacua is out of the game, they're telling me, why is Puka Nacua not in the game?
It was strange.
Nobody's telling me. In fact, they didn't even talk about Nick Chubb wasn't in the game.
This is an indictment This is when the sideline reporter asked the interim coach of the Saints. Taysom Hill had a fumble. Taysom Hill threw a pick.
Yep.
They came to him and said, "Hey, are you doing too much with Taysom? Are you gonna try to slow that down a little bit?" He said, "No. Taysom Hill is one of the best players in the league, and we're gonna give him the ball more."
And they did.
And they did, and they won.
Browns couldn't
Now
stop 'em.
this is wild to me. I've never seen the Cleveland Browns say the same thing.
No, when their guys averaging 5 yards a carry, they wrap them up in bubble wrap and put them on the sidelines. I don't know. Maybe it will come out that Nick suffered a setback and he had a sore knee. I would have thought that would have come out in the post-game comments.
It was weird that it seemed like the whole middle of the game he didn't play.
He was averaging almost 5 yards a carry.
There's no
10
explanation.
carries,
for that.
46 yards, 4.6 yards per carry.
That's Nick Chubb. That's the guy we want. He looked different
better.
to me yesterday.
He looked better.
I thought
Yeah.
he was a little more aggressive. I thought he was quicker to the hole. I thought he ran with more purpose, particularly with his later carries. And then he just disappeared.
There's no explanation for it.
I want answers. I want Kevin Stefanski to tell me what happened with Nick Chubb. I want the play caller to tell me, why did you not call Nick Chubb's number? It's a 14-14 game in the fourth quarter. What are you doing? What are you
That's
doing?
completely fair.
Maybe they made a business decision. Maybe, listen.
Well, but Chubb's business is tied to incentives,
But
and he can't get incentives if he's not playing.
Maybe this is the gentleman's punt. Because let's be real. Like, it's going to come a point in time where there's diminishing returns on wins like this.
That's why I say Jameis is going to get benched.
If you're going to play it like that, if this is the way we're going to play, nobody will survive. Because what'll happen is it'll be painfully obvious, like they're pivoting and they need a draft pick. Because, I mean, Myles Garrett, that looked like draft pick Myles Garrett. He was like, man, I'm not about to be out here running around.
Myles Garrett, he's the head scratcher. I know he's got.
Well, Jay, we're
going
gonna talk defense in 1 sec. So let me get a read in, and we can talk about the defense.
I ain't about to be getting hurt.
Our last read of the day is Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike on other apps with Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks does put its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure when your picks hit. You get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly just for playing $5. You don't have to win to receive the bonus. It is guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game when you want.
Not that it matters. I had Chubb with 11 carries for 50 yards.
Yeah, he did. He
I
had
think
he had 4 carries in the third quarter and 1 carry in the fourth.
Yeah, so I think that's that.
I will update that then.
He had
I don't know
11 for 50 by my count.
Yeah, I was just looking at the official book to look at his second half carries. He had 4 carries in the third quarter and then 1 carry in the fourth.
I don't know where I saw 10 for 46 then.
He had
That's crazy.
They went down 21-14 early in the fourth. He had 1 carry on their next possession. Then the Saints went up 2 scores, and then they had
I made
to throw
all the
the ball.
stats though at the Cavs game, so you would think it'd be up to, I don't know. Whatever, I'll fix it. Easy
The
money.
official book was 11 for 50.
Yeah, I had 11 for 50 as well.
Easy money, easy fix.
It's egregious. It's unacceptable.
It is egregious that Mike screwed that up. You're right.
It is. What's also
I'm
egregious?
not talking about money.
No. What's also egregious is allowing Taysom Hill, who had 230 yards in total prior to yesterday's game, look like a combination of Bo Jackson and Rob Gronkowski at the same time.
Throw in Michael Vick.
Mike Vick. I mean, you name it. 247, Steve. But Taysom Hill had one of the best fantasy games of any player season long. He had 18 passing yards, 50 receiving yards, 138 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. He caught 8 passes. I mean,
He had return yardage, too.
he had a 44-yard return. I mean, inexcusable. I'm not quite sure is the strong enough adjective.
Are we done with Jim Schwartz,
describe.
by the way? Question.
Last year he was the defensive
I know.
coach of the
And
assistant coach of the year. Now he's
Well, no, I'm asking the question.
I mean,
I
he's
know
been
what
terrible.
my answer is.
He's
My
been
answer is I'm
terrible.
done with him.
Yeah.
I've seen enough.
Well, I never wrote about it. I think we did mention this on the show. I talked about this before. Houston, last year in the playoff game, Houston went back and watched the Philly-New England Super Bowl tape. And when Philly won the game, but the Patriots piled up, 500, 600, something insane.
Tom Brady
on
broke a
Schwartz's
record.
defense. And Houston followed the Patriots game plan to a T. It's misdirections and it's boots. And that's exactly what the Saints did to him yesterday. The way to beat Schwartz's defense is misdirections and boots, and that's what the Saints did.
That's why Hill is so effective in.
Yeah.
When he's lined up as quarterback, you've got a numbers problem. You've got a numbers problem right off the bat.
How many niggas? We talked about this on the post game. This is what pisses me off the most. He wasn't doing nothing the rest of the year. Taysom Hill did nothing.
I think did he have more yardage yesterday than he had all year?
Close. He had 230 before. Well, if you include the kick return yards, but I'm not sure what his kick
I don't know
yards
if it's
else.
okay.
So if you take that out,
I mean, he essentially
doubled
met his production in one game.
Correct.
It reminded me. Do you guys remember? Was it the Falcons a couple of years ago
The same play 11 times.
Browns, we're running the ball every time.
Right.
12 yards. 15 yards, 12 yards.
Without their starting running back.
By the way, how tough was it to watch Joe Woods beat us yesterday?
That was wild. You know what? He emailed me after the game and said, "Take that." like this is wild, man. We get embarrassed, man. It's embarrassing that stuff that we can't stop. Jet motions and reverses. We let some dude for the Raiders just run around. I don't even know his name.
I'll tell you something else that's embarrassing. The fact that the Browns feel the need to celebrate every pass break
I've hated that for
when
years.
they're losing.
Yep.
First of all, I can't remember who it was.
Jim Schwartz encouraged that, by the way.
There was one celebration where the only reason it was an incomplete pass
'Cause the guy dropped
is
it.
because, Carr underthrew the tight end that beat him into the end zone, and he underthrew it, and the guy broke. It's embarrassing. You can't coach awareness.
It's just what did you think they were going to
And did you hear who was on the? Was it Vilma? Who was that on the broadcast?
Yes, it was.
Vilma.
There was on one of the touchdowns where he said half of them were playing cover one, half of them were playing
you're
cover
right.
two.
again?
Yeah.
So there it is again, where they can't even get lined up. And
I'm trying to say, okay, what's the point on the horizon that they're going to? I'm just call me flip flop, okay? Kevin Stefanski's got to go.
Everybody's
I'm
got
done.
to go.
He's got to go.
Yeah.
All right. Jim Schwartz, bye. Gone. Out. Play caller, gone. Done. Dorsey, not impressed. Where do you go from here? This is what I've decided from watching football over the last 2 years. I want Dan Campbell, not Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski's Tom Landry. Nice. Pleasant. Never loses his temper. Tony Dungy.
Yeah.
I was in Tampa for 4 years watching Tony Dungy. And then they did what the Cavs did last year. They said, let's take the coach, take him out, and John Gruden, we're going to put you in. Super Bowl. Different voice, different message, same players, different message. He was tough. John was tough. Very first news conference, he intentionally called Mike Allstott Mark Allstott. Why? Didn't think he was getting enough out of him. He thought this guy was a superstar. He was playing like garbage. So he intentionally mispronounced his name, called him the wrong name. Everybody's like, oh, Allstott's traded. No, Allstott had a great year. So I say that to say this. Give me Dan Campbell. This is football. It's a gladiator sport. Guys are trying to kill each other. Guys are losing years off the back end of their life because the sport is so violent. Nice, sweet, doesn't get it.
well, for the record, both those guys won Super Bowls. Landry and Dungy both won Super Bowls.
Let me finish
I'll
my
take
point.
a Super Bowl winning coach.
Once upon a time, that worked. Now, in the same time that Landry was winning Super Bowls, so was Chuck Noll. Chuck Noll was knocking heads.
Yeah.
That dude was a ball beater. Tom Landry was the anomaly. And it was a much different sport. It was checkers, and this is chess. But I'm not going to take that away from him. He won. But he won with a top hat and a suit.
I
He
think
never
the
lost
reason-
his temper.
Jay,
Kevin Stefanski's demeanor is not suited for a gladiator sport. I want Dan Campbell.
I don't know that I agree with that as a whole for the league, but I do agree with you on the Browns specifically. And the reason is they need a coach that's going to essentially, and I believe you can do this, put Jimmy Haslam in his place. They need a coach that's going to say, hey, listen, the only way I'm taking this job is if you stay out of it.
You do
And
that if you
try to-
win.
He won't hire that guy.
No, he won't.
Well, then they'll keep hiring
That's what I said.
guys that are desperate to have a job.
And that's what my
If
buddies
you're-
that were telling me this
Right.
years ago said, anybody that takes that job, He's a patsy from day one. That's
What?
why Jimmy's hiring him.
For everybody that wants Mike Vrabel, why would Mike Vrabel take the job?
I can't imagine Mike Vrabel would want anything to do with being the head coach.
The only way I'd take it if I were him is, Jimmy, you're out of this.
Yep.
Pull the
Write
rest
your
of your
checks and
job.
stay in your office.
Yes.
They interviewed that guy. I'm not saying they should have hired him.
Yeah.
They interviewed that guy, Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels said, if I come, everybody goes.
Well, he's a terrible head coach.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
the reason he didn't get that job is because
Yeah.
he walked in and said, if I'm doing this, everybody else has to go, and I get to say what happens. And Jimmy said, thank you for coming. Have a nice day. He's not going to hire a guy like that.
Sometimes it take you hitting rock bottom, and sometimes it take you wanting a new stadium and no one liking you to say, you know what, I might want to go ahead and figure this out.
Was son-in-law, did I see someone had a hashtag, was it you?
Yeah.
Said something in our text group. with
Hashtag son-in-law, yeah.
Look, that made me laugh. Out loud.
I believe, I'm not 100%, I believe Vrabel wants like full control wherever he goes next.
He should
And
have it.
deserves it.
Yeah.
If he's in,
He's not going, I don't think he's going to get that here.
No, he won't.
here's what I'll say.
I don't think he will.
Hey, I once again, I saw Dan Gilbert be the same tyrant, and you know what happened?
He had a stroke. No, I don't mean to make light of it.
before he won the championship.
I'm saying, but what changed when he signed the peace treaty with LeBron?
I don't want this to get clipped to make it sound like I'm making fun of Dan.
When he signed the peace treaty
No,
with
no,
LeBron.
no, but no.
Well, we won't clip this, Jason. You're good.
You're having two different conversations here because he was still a tyrant when LeBron came back.
But LeBron was like, "Oh no, I want assurances." Like you said, you're gonna write every check that I tell you to write. And he said, "Sure."
Yeah, LeBron and Dan knew that they needed each other, and LeBron needed Dan to spend, and Dan needed LeBron to win a championship, and they both said, "We'll make a business deal. We both need each other. I promise to do this if you promise to do that." They did it. We're good, and he went to L.A.
And they divorced.
But when you talk about Dan being a tyrant, and again, I don't want to make light of this. The man almost died. There's nothing funny about it. But it changed everything about his life. And he was removed from the Cavs for like 4 or 5 years. And that's when they put this whole thing together, is when ownership was not interfering. And Kobe had more time than anybody before him. And he had all of Dan's money with none of the influence and none of the interference. And that's why they were able to put this thing together. Like, Kobe probably would have been fired 3 times had Dan been Dan throughout all of those years. So when you say what changed with Dan, his health. And the fact that he was removed, he was in Florida, like living in Florida, trying to regain his health and regain some sort of quality of life.
No
reason.
No. I was talking about what made him sign the peace treaty to get LeBron back.
Because he couldn't win without him.
And so my thing is, if you at some point, our hope and wish is Jimmy Haslam says, "Look, man, I can't win it doing that way. It might be one guy, somebody, I don't know who it is. Maybe he respects Vrabel. Maybe Vrabel has enough cachet to say, look, man, you learn your lesson. You keep doing it this way. You're only going to win this
Here's
way."
one for you. I had someone from Belichick's circle text me and say, bring Bill back. Like, bring us all and let him.
I've heard people recommend it already.
What,
Can't be the GM, though.
No, Bill wants full control.
What would your reaction to that be?
I don't know yet.
I would stand up and cheer it.
I don't know yet.
Bull?
Because I agree. Bill, as a GM.
He's not. He as a GM, he's been terrible for
No,
years.
I would not give him control. I don't think
he's
these
not
guys.
going to do it without
These
that.
guys.
He wanted control in Atlanta.
Yeah.
He's going to want it wherever he goes.
Well,
you think Bill's
he's not-
going to?
but he's not coaching.
You talk about, like, it depends on how, because I think Jacksonville would give him full control.
I think you're right.
They'd also
they
give
would.
Vrabel full control.
I think they'd give I think Jacksonville would give him full control.
Is Vrabel really looking to be GM also, though? He just wants full control of the team.
I think more than full control, this is what he wants. Stay out of my way. Like, if he found a GM that he liked, that he could work with, I think Vrabel would be fine with that.
He's in the building.
In Tennessee, you guys remember the way things went down in Tennessee. The owner told him, we're going to have a co-head coach situation. Do you remember that? Last year. And I said, okay, that's the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
I don't
with
want,
Mike.
as great as Belichick has been, I feel like that could be Holmgren all over again.
Well,
I don't see. Holmgren came here to steal money. I don't ever see Bill stealing
Belichick's
money. Have you
coming
guys
here
been
to-
watching Bill on the Manning cast?
Yeah.
Bill wants the wins record.
That's
God.
exactly it.
That's
He's not coming
That's
just
exactly
to
it.
steal
what he
money.
wants.
That's all. But that's all he wants. That's all he wants. He just wants the wins record.
Well, I'm not hiring him for that.
And he's 72 and 72, I think.
I believe
Vrabel would be a great fit, but if I'm Vrabel, there's no way I'm doing it unless I have full control of once the roster's there. He can't be the GM also.
I don't know
but
that I would.
You
let him
don't
do
mess.
that. Yeah, I wouldn't want him to be the GM.
No, 100%. No
wouldn't.
coach should be a GM.
And by the
also.
way, I know that this is going to sound like I'm anti-elitism, Ivy League thing sucks. Just going to say it.
Slightly.
The Ivy League thing is way overrated.
Well, it works in baseball.
There's smart people from everywhere. It has worked in baseball. It worked with the Dodgers. But baseball isn't a gladiator sport. Baseball's different from football. And I just think that somebody sent me a text yesterday. It was so smart. It said analytics is dying. You can look around. You can see it. We're still coaching like we're playing Madden, but most coaches have pulled back from the Madden, going for it every time, all that nonsense. It's more sensible. It's more accountable is what the word was.
Is there facts to back that up?
No, this is coming from somebody who is currently in an organization in a very high position who said
analytics is just smarter stats.
Here's what he said. Here's what he said about analytics. And by the way, this guy's in on analytics.
Yeah.
He said analytics is the most confusing and misunderstood thread in all of sports. You're banking on the future playing out the way the past did.
Right.
And he said the organization that he is with and his personal viewpoint on analytics is if you're deep in analytics, you're playing last year's game. We're trying to be on the cutting edge of analytics, and we're trying to see what are the future trends. What's coming that's not because we've seen analytics change the game.
By the way, the Lions and Chiefs are two of the most aggressive go-for-it teams in the league.
That's a misnomer. Because I had that same conversation.
Yeah.
I asked about the Lions' use of analytics, and here's what I was told. They use it smarter than anybody else.
Okay, so the problem's not analytics.
No, you said more. They don't use it more. It's the way they use it, and that's the key. It's not the use of analytics. I think our organization, because of DePodesta said, we're all about analytics.
We make analytics a boogeyman.
It hasn't worked.
We use stupid stats we're still talking about wins in baseball. We shouldn't be talking about wins in baseball. They're meaningless.
Way off topic. I agree with that. I don't care about that. What I'm saying is analytics has a very defined place in sports. Not my words. The words of an executive of an NFL team said, we believe that the use of analytics over the past in sports it's just been misguided. Everybody thought numbers and these stats and these trends was going to drive success in the future. It hasn't. The Lions do use analytics. They use it smarter than anyone else, is what he said.
Okay.
We got a
and
bunch of
I
super
agree with
chats.
that too, by the way.
So let's do some super chats. If you want some more Cavs talk today, Jason and I are going to do a Cavs show at 5 o'clock. We'll dive into the matchup with the Celtics. We'll talk about some of the zone things. The Cavs broke out against the Hornets last night and some other good stuff. So 5 o'clock.
Are the numbers growing for this, I hope?
Yeah, you keep winning. It keeps going up.
Good.
So,
that's what I was wondering.
got a bunch of super chats, though, so we'll get these. We'll skip overtime. We'll just do super chats here. But NP Barlow says, it flies under the radar that Andrew Berry was in the front office during the 1 in 31 years, making countless terrible decisions with Sashi Brown. He failed upward, in my opinion.
He was part of the organization. I forgot about that.
I did too.
Halim Youssef says, the Cavs are so good they started playing with their food last night. Salish Shastri says, in the brief play yesterday, JT Thor showed some skills. Can he be groomed as the backup center and the Cavs try and focus to get another wing instead? Jason?
Anybody? JT Thor?
I would not trust JT Thor with valuable minutes. Like, if you want to point to what's their need, I guess you could say upgrade their backup big. But, I mean, when that's your most pressing need, you're living well.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Chris Fox says Jason Tatum is a tier 2 star as well, and they won the championship last year.
No, he's not. You think Jason Tatum's a tier 2 star?
I think he's a tier 1.5 star.
You cheated on that with me.
Honestly, he's tier 2. Honestly, he's not tier 1. I can't put him in that same tier.
All right.
His minutes at the Olympics showed he was tier 2.
But I think if you ask most NBA people before this season, who's a better player, Jason Tatum or Donovan Mitchell? Would everybody say Tatum? Or no?
Everybody would say Tatum.
Tatum is better.
Okay.
Everybody would say Tatum.
But I don't necessarily think Jaylen Brown better though.
No, I don't either.
But Tatum and Brown together, now you could argue Donovan and Darius together could be that same combo.
Yeah.
The difference is the size.
Yeah.
Those two, Boston's two are monsters. They're much bigger.
And ours are undersized.
Yeah.
We
Jeff's
can't be talking about
bookshelf.
size, man. I'm going to have to pause that quick.
Size matters, G.
Size matters.
Jason's shirt.
Jeff's bookshelf says, it really is crazy how the Browns make 0 right moves.
Listen, that might be the smartest thing.
It's not 0, but it's a low number.
What did they get right?
Man, they ain't, boy.
Well, the trade for Amari Cooper was a good trade.
But we undid that.
They didn't undo it. You just made another trade.
So, like, I always
That
say,
transaction on its own was a good
hey,
transaction.
are we better?
In a silo.
Hey, they've been here, what, 5 years?
Yeah.
So, are we, that team,
Yeah.
would you swap?
Is your life better today
Is your
than it was
life
5
better
years
yet?
ago?
We had a quarterback. Chubb was in his prime. I would reset it all over
Miles
again.
Garrett was trending up, not
Upwards?
down.
Wow, man.
They have very few young players trending up.
How many votes will Miles Garrett get this year for the Defensive Player of the Year?
Oh, come on, man.
The same as you.
Right.
Come on, man.
Even though, actually, to be honest, like, this is true story. The Athletic Football Show with Robert Mays, who came on, had Bill Barnwell on last week. They were talking about midseason Defensive Player of the Year, and Miles Garrett was in that conversation.
Well, that show has no credibility to me.
And Bill Barnwell is really good.
I like Bill. Bill's
Bill's really-
usually very smart and bright. And
He said it was a lackluster. Now, this was before yesterday, but he said it was such a lackluster
yesterday
class.
wasn't the first game that he had no stats.
Well, Trey Hendrickson's been the best defensive player, but he's on a team that's 4-7. So,
by the way, every
and
time they show him, I feel like
that
he's
was
going to
part of
start
the case
crying.
for.
yeah, I don't know.
Yesterday, when they
My-
cut away twice to him,
If-
on the
if
bench,
I-
I thought that man needs counseling. He's going to start crying.
If I was Miles Garrett, and I know he won't do it because people will frown upon it, I'd be like, man, I gotta shut it down. My feet hurt, bro. I'm not gonna be out here getting triple teamed like this.
Do you think that's what he's doing? He's just made a business decision. I'll be out here, but
I
I'm
mean,
not
if
gonna...
he needs surgery,
Go.
Right.
Go.
he should do
Surgery.
it now.
Yeah,
Get off the field. Go.
I'll be done.
Speaking
Yeah.
of Miles, Donnie M Super Chat is about Miles. Donnie says, I've been a fan for 35 years, and this is actually the first time I really don't even care about watching them, or even if they play on Sunday. So my question is, would you trade Miles in the offseason to get draft capital?
No. Because the reason I'm going to say no is I don't know who's the next people going to be involved. I'm not trading him to get some picks
So they can waste them.
so some
Well,
guy
but
going to use them.
The only problem with that theory, I understand that theory. It makes a lot of sense. But if we just assume all the picks are going to be bad, then they have no hope anyway. So what's the point?
Welcome to my world.
I mean, it's a
You
tough
just walked into
Yeah,
my
it's
life.
it's a tough place to be, man. And
If they brought in a GM that we believed in, I think it could make sense to trade Miles Garrett. in the offseason.
I think you have to entertain the discussion. I would not have done it at the trade deadline.
No.
But I think you at least have to have the discussion as an organization this offseason.
if
I agree.
I would ask him, do you want to be traded? And if he says he does not want to be traded, I would not trade him.
Yeah,
I think I would.
that's how
I think I would agree with that. But you at least
How-
have to have.
I'll ask him.
Yeah.
If he answers the question, no, I don't want to be traded,
drug test them.
it's like Joe Thomas to me.
Why would you not want to be traded?
Why would you want to
Honestly.
stay here?
Honestly,
And I'm not trying to have a mean joke. I'm literally saying, if someone was to give Miles truth serum and you said you can stay or leave, what are you doing? I've always looked at Joe Thomas and said, as much as I love Joe, there's an element of his character or of his personality.
Joe's on tomorrow, by the way.
Well, that I would. God, I'm not going to be here. What I want to know is, in retrospect, okay, now the water's through the dam. Do you wish that you could have gone somewhere else to experience winning as a team? Because nobody coming out of Wisconsin as a top 3 pick is going to write down in their career goals, I hope to go to Cleveland, Ohio, and lose year after year and
We
never
could ask
win
Joe,
a
we'll
playoff
ask Joe
game.
tomorrow.
When
for
did-
you.
Like,
Hold on. Look,
I want a guy that says, no.
I'll put it to you.
Give me the winning
I'll
career.
give you. Some people are wired different. Jay, you came from ESPN. You could go to all types of market in your career, right? You could go to New York again. You could do it in Tampa.
Joe's not from Cleveland.
But I'm saying though, like sometimes when you get here, like Bull, he's a transplant, but he feels like I'm from Cleveland.
here's
Some people got allegiance.
That's
to
true.
it.
I don't have a desire to work in New York anymore.
When
I
New
did
New York
for a while.
called tomorrow and said, we're going to triple your salary.
Now, Bull,
You're gone.
Now you
and
know-
I love you,
now
Bull,
you know
but
who
if
you-
you're honest with yourself, you're gone.
Now you know-
I
And
don't-
I wouldn't hold that against you.
Yeah, it would have to be at least triple.
That's why I said
At
triple,
least,
because double
yeah.
you're not going.
No.
Bull loves money. You know,
Well,
he like-
everybody does.
but we're missing an important piece
All right,
here.
go
I
ahead,
think
man.
between Joe and Miles. When did Joe get married and have kids? It was during his career, was it not?
Sure it was.
Yeah.
Joe did.
Miles is single.
Yeah.
That makes it harder, yeah.
When you have a wife who has friends in the area, when you have kids who have friends,
Sure.
Why do you think I say all the time I ain't leaving? I could have
Yeah,
left Cleveland
that makes it
years
tough.
ago.
Sure.
Jay,
I've had-
honestly, I mean, 3 times the money, that's a whole lot of money, but
Would you want to pull Aaron out of
I'm
his
100% sure I would do it.
Your son got people here. He would flip out.
You know, we're right now having conversations about my son changing schools potentially.
Right.
And-
Really?
Yeah, and
Well, he's not in high school yet, right? What?
No, he's in the 6th grade.
Yeah, so that's the time to do it.
Yeah, but
or
like
junior high.
but
not
it's
high
going to be
school.
tough because he's not going to be able to see his buddies at school.
No, that's-
In 2018, the owners of the Athletic came to me and said, "We want you to go with LeBron if you want to go. We will send you with him wherever he goes." And I said, "I am good in Cleveland. I don't want to go. My
Yeah.
family is here. My kids are here. My kids are happy here.
And you're from here.
And I'm from here. Like
So,
I had
mean,
no
to
interest
me,
in leaving."
The difference is, I like your analogy, but for me, it was the same thing. I had an offer to go to Los Angeles. I didn't want to go to Los Angeles. I didn't want to be coastal at all.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be in Cleveland, Ohio. And the jobs that I was considering that were national, the first conversation was, I'll only even entertain step 2 here if I can do it out of Cleveland. And because now you can. A lot of these guys now that are working
Yeah.
for networks are based wherever they want to be based. You're just on an airplane.
And Miles
a lot.
has roots here. Like he has that little piece of the Cavs, and he has made a home for himself here.
Yeah.
But when you're single, it's a lot easier to get up out of here than it is
I'm
if
just
you're
saying,
married.
all
Guys,
things
yeah,
being
we have like
equal.
20 more super chats.
Winners
all
are
right.
going to want
Oh,
to.
boy.
Oh, we still
Yeah,
got
yeah,
super chats?
We have so many more
Dang.
super
All right,
chats.
go
All
ahead.
right, go through
We're
it.
going to 2
TV
o'clock
Dog
today.
21 says, I hate the Steelers, but they gave their coaches the opportunity to right the ship when the team sucked. With Noel, then 4 Super Bowls. Cowher, a couple of down seasons, 2 Super Bowls, 1-1. Tomlin, 1 Super Bowl, but minimum playoffs. Maybe we should let Stefanski try and turn it around.
Hey, listen, that's not crazy.
Emotions are high right now in the moment.
I
You have to remove emotion to make a decision like this.
And listen, I'm the Duke knee jerk. I am admitting that it's fully possible that they could fire him and it'd be the wrong move.
Absolutely. Because he will be hired tomorrow.
I don't
he will
believe
be.
that.
Yeah, he will.
I'm not
I
as
believe
convinced
I'm
still.
as
telling
are.
you. I'm telling you right now,
it's
he will have
fully
another
possible.
job.
I just don't think he'll ever succeed here.
I think
What's
it's
it-
fully
what's that
possible
based
that he
on?
could
What
be
has he
successful
done?
somewhere else, and
He
we would
has
say,
he has
we've
a
done it a lot.
sterling reputation.
We've
around
done
the
it a
league.
lot.
He will have another
We've
job.
done a lot. We've
If
done
the
it a
Browns
lot.
fire him this year, he will be a head coach next year in the NFL.
All right.
I
All
agree
right,
with
next
that,
one.
see.
Brody's bottom line says, Jason, would you trade for Robert Williams from Portland, their mobile backup big?
It depends. Like,
What you giving up?
yeah.
The cost.
Depends on the cost. I mean, again, like, you're certainly not trading anything of value.
Right.
I'm only going to make a trade where I'm giving up like draft picks.
Who's your guy in the G
Second
League?
round picks or
What's his name
whatever.
again?
Yeah.
Who is Monty
Monty
Bates?
Yeah, I'll give him Amani Bates.
Or Amani Bates, yeah.
By the way,
G.
you kind of
Bush's-
jumped off the Amani Bates train.
No, listen.
We don't need him.
No.
He's hurt right now.
He's hurt. And if Kenny Atkinson is doing this with everybody else, Monty Bates is a second team all NBA player right now.
G. Bush's bad neck, not to be confused with G. Bush's bad take that he just gave you, is
Second team all NBA
Says-
sniper.
I know it's unlikely for the Browns, but if we can find our guy at quarterback, it solves a huge chunk of our
Absolutely.
problems. Do you
Yes.
agree?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yes. It does.
That's a tough. But by the way, the Lions lucked up into the quarterback. Let's be clear.
But they had Stafford.
They had Stafford. They kind of messed that one up. They lucked into golf. They turned.
Well, they got a lot of draft capital to take him on, and
Well,
he
yes,
had been to a
they
Well,
Super
they
Bowl.
also have tremendous skill position talent.
But they cultivated that. I mean,
Detroit feels like the envy of the NFL right now.
they went in. They made it. They made them trades. Now look, the problem with a lot of people like me is I don't see the easy access to the quarterback. I don't see where it just comes
Right.
from. You know, that's
It's never easy.
That's
That's the hardest
scary
piece
part.
of it.
That's the scary
The
part.
hardest piece. Joseph Silver says, everyone on panel, please pitch in to buy the Browns. Pretty please. Mr. I Crap and Shit says, does
Wait,
Haslam...
what, Mr. What?
I crap and shit.
He's
What a great name.
a frequent super
What a
chatter.
name. What a name.
Says, does Haslam pull the trigger after an embarrassing loss to the Squealers like he did to Hugh Jackson, especially with the
could
mini
be.
bye week following?
There's no point in doing it now. The season's lost. Like,
True. And
there's,
Jimmy Haslam always is rational.
That's true.
I mean, they gave Freddie a whole year.
Yeah, they did.
They signed Hugh to an extension after 0-16.
Yeah, they did. They gave him a 1-year extension. The only reason why
The list of bad decisions goes
the only
on.
reason why you would do it in season is if you could come to some sort of agreement with Vrabel. I don't know that necessarily that's going to happen. I don't know if they're necessarily looking at him as that guy.
Yeah.
If I'm being
Vrabel
honest.
Vrabel will be the top choice.
Vrabel is. I saw him on the sideline, and I haven't seen Vrabel.
First time he was on a sideline for the
Yeah,
road.
I've seen more involvement, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, ooh,
I said, ooh,
okay.
he talking
he's
to
down
people.
there. He's down there kicking the tires on the house.
I told that to Bull last night. But he's also going to get his pick of the litter for any job he wants.
I agree. He's going to be the hot candidate. I'm going to ask this question. I hate to interrupt your flow on this, but let's do it really quickly in 1 minute or less, all of our answers. One person absolutely has to go that's not named Jimmy Haslam in the organization. Mine's Paul DePodesta. One person.
I don't know what he does. Give me Andrew Berry.
Deshaun.
I hadn't thought about Deshaun.
I think we're gonna get to where I thought we were gonna be.
Yeah, I'll go deep Podesta also.
Oh shit! I hope.
I'll say
I thought we
Stefanski
were,
so we can complete the trifecta.
Okay, I thought. What's odd is if you ask that of a losing organization, usually it's the same guy. It's one
Right.
guy.
Yeah.
We had 4 guys, 5
Yeah.
names, 5 people, 4 names.
Who'd you say, Mike?
He said DePodesta.
Well, I just said Stefanski so we can
Stefanski.
complete the
You
square
said
that Jay
DePodesta.
wanted.
Yeah.
DB Dog 21 says, Coop said the Browns were a tight-knit group when they were at the Greenbrier. I think his comments yesterday stemmed from not getting a long-term deal from Cleveland.
No, he was already in the game. Listen, by the way, I go back and ask the other people. Hey, Jadeveon Clowney, what you think? Odell, what you think of the Browns?
Guys say whatever they're supposed to say.
Can I ask, Jason, I want to ask you a question. I heard from a very reliable source inside the organization that Amari Cooper had become a massive pain in the ass.
Yeah, I think that they had to move on from him.
Yeah.
I think they had to
Because
move on.
it was told to me that he made that decision for us.
Well,
now, I don't blame him. They shopped him publicly after he had a great year last year.
We talked about it at the time. They brought in Judy and they paid him.
That's right.
And they didn't give Amari a deal.
And I don't blame Amari for being upset, but clearly he became the squeaky wheel that none of us thought he could be. But if my information is right, and again, it's from a very reliable source, he was a pain in the ass, and they had no choice.
We got 3 more. Mike H. says, if we clean house, gets what's left, rotting in the basement, stinking up the joint, the Haslams. I just don't buy that Kevin is the problem here. Mr. I Crap and Shits also chimes in, I'd love to see Bill Belichick back. He has unfinished business in Cleveland. He said as much
I don't think he would ever come back.
in the Behind the Mask Cleveland 95 episode. And last but not least, and I'm telling you it's a real super chat, I'm not making this up, but Drankisha says, my name is Drunkisha and I'm hung like a horse.
I don't think you have to read that.
I don't know. I
I
got in
can
trouble
hear
for not
Anthony in
reading
the
the super
background.
chat
Why would you
last
read
week,
that?
So.
Yeah.
I got in trouble for not reading one.
I mean, at some point,
so-
we become the bowling alley when they're paging.
Right.
Mike, if it's nice and tight.
So, all right, we'll see y'all tomorrow. We got Joe Thomas on the show.
I use that example because I was at a bowling alley.